Mike, turn your games down.
Hi everybody, welcome to a very, very special episode of Games My Mom Found. It is our Game of the Year for 2023, something I've never done before, but I got the itch. That was an idea of one of the friends of the show that wanted me to do this, which you will hear about later in this episode. So when I first started recording this, I didn't know exactly what order I was going to do or how I was going to do this. Instead, I ended up doing it in the order that I recorded these in, but I wasn't planning that at first. So just to be warned, based on some of my comments, this was recorded after, when I was still coming together. So what we do is just pretty much you can hear different interviews from different people I talk to, and I hear about what their game of the year is for 2023, and that's what you're going to hear. You're going to hear about 14, 15 different people and what they felt and what they liked. So I hope you enjoy that, and stay tuned for the show. Hi, Casey. Welcome to our Game of the Year episode of 2023.
Glad to be here.
Welcome. So I just wanted to ask you, what is your Game of the Year for 2023?
Yeah, so this was a really hard year to pick, but I think for me, my Game of the Year is Final Fantasy 16.
Okay. I honestly forgot that came out this year. So
yeah, it's kind of, there's been so much stuff this year that I feel like it's one of those ones that it was really good, but I don't think it hit as hard for a lot of people. So it's kind of not fallen off or forgotten, but like kind of just, everyone's a little more on other stuff right now.
Well, I mean, we're having a great year.
It's, probably the best year ever. Like, I'm trying to, in terms of releases, like, I know, like, there's some, like, 2007, maybe, but, like, it's a pretty crazy one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm completely a retro gamer, so I won't touch, like, really anything came out this year till years from now, but
sure,
there's a lot of stuff coming.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff came out. Oh, so what made FF16 really connect with you?
So, all year I've been kind of kicking around. My top 3 have all been really hard to pick from. The other 2 would be Resident Evil 4 Remake and Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Okay. But I think for me, what ended up putting Final Fantasy 16 over just a little bit more is on top of, I find the gameplay just really, really fun. The action, combat, the different abilities you can swap in and out to kind of build out your own play style and stuff of how you want to do the fights. What really put it over for me was just, I think the story and characters are really, really great. And the adventure that you kind of go through is just so huge. Like the boss fights, the drama, I guess, of it all. Like, I've enjoyed plenty of Final Fantasy games before. I've never been a diehard Final Fantasy fan, but this one it's a bit darker, which I tend to like that type of stuff. I think the cast of characters you have are really memorable. All of them are really likable too. Even though you only play the main character, it's not as party-based as the previous ones. I think they do a good job of making most of that cast just really endearing.
Is it like AI teams mates then that help you?
Yeah, they will join you, and there's some cute stuff in the menus when you have people in your party. If you hit the pause button, they have little very retro style Final Fantasy pixel art of them in the menu for you to see. And if you hover over them, they'll even do the kind of arms up like victory pose, like when you would win battles in like Final Fantasy VI.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, really cute details. There's all sorts of little throwbacks to old Final Fantasy stuff throughout the game. But you play as Clive, the main character, exclusively, but you'll often be joined by his love interest, Jill, or other characters that I won't really get into because I don't know spoiler stuff on here.
It's actually a new game that I'm talking about, so yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but yeah, I just think the story really worked for me. Incredible soundtrack. I like video game music a good bit, but this is the first time in a while I've heard a soundtrack where I was like, I would watch like video of it being performed just to see the percussionists and the string players like playing it.
That's high regard.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. A lot of times I'm kind of a person who will play a game with a podcast on or, just kind of in the background while I'm doing other stuff.
I know how that goes.
But this is a game that I would specifically take time out to play with headphones or something because just the sound design, the voice acting, and the music, it's all just so high quality. And again, all tied in with gameplay that I found really great and a story that I found pretty emotionally affecting. And I'm a really character driven person. Like if a story is bad but has good characters, I'll still have a good time.
Okay.
And I think the story is good, and I liked the whole cast, and I was having fun the whole time. And like I said, the boss fights that you get to are kind of the centerpiece for the game. And so it'll be a big build up to your next main villain. And when you get to those fights, they are unbelievable. Without going too deep into it, there is a battle that you fight a dragon in space.
Is it Bahamut, I'm assuming?
Yeah, it is Bahamut.
Okay.
And,
I think that was like, because I haven't followed this game at all, but I remember somebody somewhere was online, people talking about maybe Overblood, but so that
the Titan boss fight and Bahamut are just, there were parts where I was like, I kind of can't believe we can just do stuff like this in games now. Like, just, it's so good looking, and the scale is like, it's some like God of War type stuff. Like, you are this tiny pixel size thing on the screen of this giant monster, and you're both just going at it. And they're cool fights. The combat goes into some stuff too that's really impressive, where so Clive in the universe, everyone kind of has like a human form, or not everyone, but you and the main villains and stuff have your human form, and then these icons that you can control, which are classic Final Fantasy summons.
Okay.
So like, yeah. So Clive can, when, in these big fights, will transform into Ifrit or Ifrit. I'm never sure how it's actually supposed to be.
Either way is fine. I don't care.
Yeah.
I pronounce things wrong all the time.
Yeah. And what's cool is it's not just like slow lumbering. You have most of the same general kind of abilities you would have as Clive with a sword and everything. You can, do combos, ranged attacks, kind of pull off some special moves, really fast dodges and everything. So they keep these huge fights just as involved as the ground fights as a normal player. So I was not really expecting. A lot of times when you get like, here's your big monster or whatever that you can play as, I feel like it's really simple. Like, they'll give you maybe one big attack button or a small punch, and then like, here's a big roar or something. But this has a ton of different things you can do, and they keep the damage numbers on the screen too. So when you're playing as Clive, you'll maybe hit something for like 100 points of damage, and then you'll be playing as Ifrit and do like 500,000 and like a huge. It's just very rewarding to see those giant numbers pop up when you're like, oh, these are like demigods going at it.
This game sounds cool. I was a diehard Final Fantasy fan back in the day, up to 12, 13 is kind of where I fell off.
Sure.
But so it makes me happy to hear that this game is that good, because I don't even think about games that come out this year. So
sure, yeah, it's definitely, as every Final Fantasy seems to be, it's definitely been alienating. It's real time combat. It's much more closer to like a Devil May Cry kind of than it is any sort of turn based system like that. So there are definitely like classic fans who don't want anything to do with it.
But there's other games for that. So
definitely.
I'm fine with
Octopath
that.
Traveler is another game out this year that's really great for that kind of retro JRPG feel.
I have never played one yet for some reason, and I love that style of game, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, you definitely got my attention about this game.
Yeah, I think it's really great. They've got I'm looking forward to it too. They've got a new expansion out that came out when the Game Awards aired, and next year they're putting out another one that's supposed to have a new battle against Leviathan, which I'm looking forward to seeing. So there's more stuff coming for the game. I'm looking forward to checking it out.
I'm glad. I'm glad there's more stuff. Like, DLC can be really nice sometimes.
Yeah, especially because the game was very complete feeling to me on release. Like, it told a good story and everything. It didn't feel like there were big gaps that or stuff like, there was no DLC when it came out, I don't think. There might have been like a digital deluxe, like here's a couple items you can equip or something, but nothing like huge. No, like Final Fantasy 15 was really infamous for like patches and DLC for years after it came out, just adding more story and fixing things. And this one just felt pretty complete when it came out, and now the DLC stuff is like, I'll do some more boss fights in this game I already want to keep playing. Sure.
Isn't there a whole chapter in FF15 that's not there until the DLC came out or something?
There was something where there was a chapter that people really didn't like, and then they put out, I forget if you bought it or if it was patched in, where it was like, here's like a better version of the chapter or something. Like, I think it was called it was chapter 13 verse B or something like that. Like, they called it something goofy. Another side of this chapter.
Okay,
They did a lot of
someday
stuff.
I tell myself I'm going to play that game someday. So.
Yeah, it's a real janky game, but it's interesting. But no, I do think like I said, I played a good handful of them. I've tried chunks of like every Final Fantasy except for 2 and 3. But I finished like 4, 7, 10, like a lot of the like real classic ones. And I'm pretty confident my favorite one in the series. I really liked these characters and the gameplay, everything about it really.
Okay.
Also, it's a beautiful game. It's insanely good looking.
No, it looks. I'm watching the videos right now, so while you're talking about it, and
yeah,
it does look really damn good.
Yeah, definitely like one of the best looking games I've played in a minute, and one of those ones too where a lot of people have talked about how the current console cycles felt slow to take off, and some of that has to do with COVID and all that stuff. But some of the games this year, and this being one of them, were a lot of like they're doing stuff with the technology. They're the size of these battles and the detail of it all. This is pushing the consoles in a way that like the PS4 would not have been able to do.
Okay, I haven't messed with PS5 or any of that stuff yet. Almost. I saw one and I was like, but yeah, I'm nowhere.
Yeah, they're starting to get around in the wild, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm curious though if if this is part of it. What is do you have a game of the year picked out?
No, I haven't played anything from this year.
Sure. Any games that you have played this year that like maybe not from this year, but just hey, this was a really cool game I played. That
I mean, there's a few that have been on this podcast, but like nothing. Oh, I played Gotham Knights. That's the closest new game I played.
Yeah.
So that's technically 2022, I think, but late 2022. So it might have fallen under that with how they do their thing. But
yeah, I actually liked seeing your post because I think that just came out on a couple of Game Pass, and I think even PlayStation has it too.
It's worth. I said it before. I'll say it again. It is worth playing, but you just cannot go into it expecting an Arkham game. You have to take it for what it is.
Sure.
And you will enjoy yourself. Just once you get stopped wanting to hit triangle the counter, you will start to enjoy yourself after a while, or whatever button it was. It took me a bit to hit the right buttons, but you are not. This is not Arkham.
Yeah.
Play it differently. It's a good game.
Sure. No, I thought that was. I did see some of your posts around that, and it was interesting because it got a real bad rep when it came out. But I was kind of.
But it ran fine for me for the most part.
Mm-hmm. I'm always interested in kind of a second look at those kind of games that maybe get kind of dismissed when they come out.
A lot of stuff gets fixed in this day and age, and people just don't. You just have to wait. Like, I mean, I won't get the FF16 for years, but now I'm actually going to be a game that I'll be like, oh, I heard good things about this, 5 years ago.
Yeah. Real quick, before we kind of wrap up or whatever, there was one more game this year that I do want to shout out. It's my number 4 on the list that I'm trying to keep. Amnesia: The Bunker is a horror game. It came out like May or even March, pretty early this year. And I feel like that game should have been a phenomenon. And it kind of came and went in a way that I think was just, it's a busy year. And, this kind of short horror game maybe got forgotten. But I'm a huge fan of horror games. I really like classic survival horror games. This is maybe the best one I've played in years and years. It's so cool how they made it.
All right. I didn't even know this came out.
Yeah, and it's on Game Pass. So, anyone listening and stuff is able to just try it right away if that's an option for them. I think it's great. They do a really good job by just making it really systems driven. I think a lot of horror games have kind of gotten big on the idea of like taking away gameplay stuff and making it just you just have to hide, or you're basically just watching a horror movie with occasional like choices and stuff, which I like those kind of games just fine. But they give you kind of just an open zone to explore, and you need to find these different tools and items to craft and escape. And it's a really simple setup, but it works really well because it puts everything kind of in your hands to how you want to proceed. And it makes it so good. It's super scary. It's just it's a game I don't think got enough love this year, so I do want to shout that out.
Okay, I appreciate that. You definitely not a game I'm interested in, but hey, there are people out there who love that stuff. I play horror games every year, and I don't enjoy them usually.
Yeah, I know. No, it's an intense one. I don't scare super easily with stuff, and it got me plenty of times.
No, that's that. I do want to play the first Amnesia someday. I have thought about it. I own it. I'm like, someday I should play this game just because. Yeah.
Have you ever played? It's probably the same studio, Soma.
No, I have not played Soma either.
Okay, I would recommend considering it. It's not super scary. There's actually, I think they added a mode to just turn off monsters and stuff and just kind of play through it. as just a story game, but the story they tell in that game is amazing. I definitely, if you're ever interested in something like that, check out Soma. It's a really cool little sci-fi story.
Okay, I do like stuff like that, and I do own it, I found out just now. So I bought it at some point, or I got it in a bundle, but I do have it.
Yeah, and it's not super long either. Just a really good, kind of scary story, I guess.
Okay.
Goes into some interesting themes for sci-fi.
9 hours. That's not too bad. Okay. Right. And do you have anything to plug?
Not really. I'm on Twitter as Oobly-Doobly1, but I don't really
Twitter?
like...
It'll still be around by the time this comes out in January?
It
should be.
It's a coin toss at this point, but I don't really do anything on there. I just, shit post and stuff.
That's fair. I try to post stuff, and then he'll reject my post sometimes, just because.
Yeah. Well,
it's Twitter. It's a shit show.
It's a nightmare.
All right, and stay tuned for the next interview. And who's with me for this one?
This is Blake Anglin.
Hi, and welcome. As I've said at least once previously, depending on how I do this order, what is your game of the year for 2023?
So I thought long and hard about this one because we didn't talk criteria really. So
came out 2023.
Exactly. So just as a quick aside, I think the best game I played this year was 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim. But that did not come out this year, so I just had to put that bad boy in. We're going to put it aside. Excellent game, though. Amazing. I think my game of the year would almost certainly be Tears of the Kingdom had I played it. I'm very pumped about it. I haven't got to it yet. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to preemptively say that now just so we can come back to it later and I can know that I was right. But I can't in good conscience say that. So I am going to go with Resident Evil 4 Remake. Okay. I did briefly consider another remake, the Dead Space remake, which is a fantastic game in its own right, certainly. But after kind of perusing my list and the games I played, I decided that the Resident Evil 4 remake was just top my list. And it was an amazing game, or amazing year for games, obviously. Oh, yeah. I've played a little bit of Baldur's Gate 3 and had some buddies really enjoy it, so that was certainly up there. Lies of P seemed like another good contender for me. There's some really good games I haven't played yet, like Super Mario Bros. Wonder.
God, that was everything is this year.
There's some really good games this year for sure. And I unfortunately can't get around to them all. But of the ones I've played, I am going with the Resident Evil 4 remake. Of course, the original is such a classic, one of probably my top 10 favorite games of all time. I think a lot of that comes down to, of course, the original, was so far, I feel, ahead of its time when it came out. It's amazing. It's still
amazing. I mean, I played it for this podcast. It's still amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. The original 1,000% holds up. I mean, I played it less than 2 years ago. The original, an absolute classic, and the way it just completely redefined what we thought and knew third-person shooters could do is, I could sit here and gush about that, but we're not here to talk about the original. We're here to talk about the remake.
The remake on release day?
I did, yeah. So I very rarely, buy new games. This year it was Resident Evil 4 remake and Star Ocean 2 remake. So it's the year for remakes for me, apparently. Star Ocean 2 remake, another game that would rank highly on my list. I'm only maybe 20 hours into it, so I couldn't in good conscience really make it my winner. But another classic that I was super happy to see them bring back. And a game, I don't know, if you haven't played, I think you particularly, Mike, would enjoy as well.
Played the original, but I never finished it. And
it's
at me.
yes, it's a good game, a great game, and the remake really, really, really knocks it out of the park. So
when I first heard about RE4 remake, I was like, you don't need to remake perfection. Like, did they do a good job of really amplifying that? Then I'm assuming.
So yes, now I will say that I think that your line of thinking is correct. Is it a game that needed a remake? I don't think we can say that. The game absolutely holds up to this day. That said, since it's out and we did get one, it's absolutely phenomenal. It expands on the original in some really cool ways. So it's not a shot for shot, remake of the game. It hits a lot of the main beats 100%. There are tons of elements that are brought over. So like returning fans get some nods to some kind of stuff, which is cool. But it also expands some sections and collapses some others. Adds a lot more of the side quest. The original, like there's a couple where you shoot blue medals and like the graveyard. Yeah, so there's a few more of those type of sections.
That's
and some
cool.
Side quests. Yeah, it's cool. It adds a few of that kind of exploration / puzzle solving to give it some legs. Obviously, the graphical update is probably the most noticeable feature. It's absolutely stunning in action. It really adds a layer of immersion. The way the zombies you can. So even in the original, you could target specific body parts, but it wasn't like there was a lot of interactivity with the way it looked necessarily. That you would knock them down, but the new system just adds this level of gore and realism to the damage that is just mind blowing. I mean, in terms of graphical fidelity, it's mind bogglingly good. It
is
does
Ashley
take away
annoying in this one.
What is it?
Is Ashley annoying?
So they have definitely made Ashley less annoying. She has a little more autonomy to take care of herself. Perhaps not. I mean, you still have to watch her, and certainly there's some sections, including some sections from the original, where you were just you may remember. Of course, there's a section where you lift her up and she's walking along like a catwalk.
I remember that one very well.
Yeah, most people do. So that kind of stuff is still there, and you got to take care of it. But I feel like they did do a good job of making her at least a little her AI a little smarter, so you're not just constantly babysitting this squalling baby. Essentially, they did remove a little bit of the camp of the original, which I'm not sure that I love. It's that to me that's just such an iconic part of the original, and they do take away some of that in favor of a little more of a self-serious tone. It's still got some of the humor, and you still got these outlandish characters like Salazar, and there's still some funny elements to it, but it does take itself a little more seriously. Certainly, I think
that's more for the current RE canon what they're going for too.
Yes, for sure. It definitely feels more in line with the remake, like 2 and 3, and definitely like the Resident Evil 7, even in Village, how they've it's very much in line with those type of games. Even the UI is very reminiscent of Village and Resident Evil 7. So you can certainly feel that they're putting the series more in line, which is going to be particularly interesting if we get a Resident Evil 5 remake, because that game is just camp from start to finish. I don't really know.
I hope Code Veronica's next, but yeah, no,
yes, yeah. Another really good game. I just don't
need a remake because that original is.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Talking about games that need a remake for sure. As long as there's boulder punching, I'll be fine. Whatever title you get. So yeah, the question of needing a remake is perhaps still unanswered, but since we got one, it's good that they did just absolutely do a fantastic job. It's a bit more difficult, I think, than the original, which I kind of did enjoy. It was a real challenge to play through, and of course, you've got the professional difficulties, and there's a lot to really dig into in terms of extra challenges. The shooting gallery's back, and it really expands. With the side quest, and there's even a few extra areas. The whole lake section is phenomenal. So in the original, of course, there's a relatively small section with the lake. This is now expanded into essentially its own little open world environment.
Oh,
it's done really well. And it feels like they even cut out some of the bloat in some of the sections, especially near the end. It gets much more streamlined, which some people may enjoy, some people may not. I thought the pacing was really good, even though, in my opinion, the original is one of the best paced games of all time. It's a masterstroke of level design. I've always thought that. So I was glad to see that still carried over to the remake, just in terms of the build up throughout the game. And I just thought they did just a phenomenal job with it.
All right, it's definitely something I want to play, but I haven't thought much about it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's not going to do anything. I don't think it's not going to change people's minds. If you didn't like the original, you're probably not going to like the remake. If you did, there's a lot to like. So it's certainly not as groundbreaking as Resident Evil 4 was when it came out. I don't think it's not what I would call an innovative game necessarily, but it is a very well put together experience that I could certainly highly recommend to anyone. And that's why it is my game of the year for 2023.
Okay. You definitely got me more interested in than I was. I love the series and I love the original. I don't know. I just didn't think much about it. I'm like, like somebody made a comment on Facebook, like, oh, they need to remake Chrono Trigger. I'm like, you don't need to remake Perfection. Like, it's fine. Leave it. Like, you don't need to remake that game. I mean, I love that game, but it doesn't need to be remade. It's already been perfect. Just re-release it. The DS version, I'm happy.
And again, I do think this falls in that category, but hey, as long as we got one, at least they made it good, right?
Yeah. I mean, I watch that. The only thing I'd want out of Chrono Trigger is just bring it back and sell merchandise of it. That's all I want. But
so I am a sucker. I am a sucker for the new Square Enix, the 2D, 3D, HD, whatever shenanigans we got. So I mean, if they want to give me a 2D, 3D, HD Chrono Trigger, I'm not going to tell them no. Who am I? Who am I to say no to that?
And do you have any honorable mentions that you also played this year that came out this year? You want to mention?
Yeah, I think I definitely hit on a few of them, but just real quick, I thought, let's see, Wolong was a fun game. I really enjoyed that for what it was worth. Octopath Traveler 2, I've only played a very little bit of it. I'm very interested to dive back into that when I get a chance. Cocoon is a puzzle game that I highly recommend to people. Another game that came out this year that's really good.
I heard a lot about that. I didn't know what it was, and I heard people talking about it.
Yes, highly recommend. Super fun, and I think Dave the Diver might be the last one that I would kind of throw out there as a fun little game that if you haven't checked out, probably should.
Yeah, that indie game. That's not an indie game. Yes.
I think it's an indie game. I'm not sure who made it, but it certainly feels it's not an indie game.
No, there's a whole bunch of controversy with it because I think it started with an indie developer and someone else bought it or put money in or something like that. But no, that's
diving's expensive business. You got to have a backer for that kind of thing. So.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's my list there, I believe.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Blake. And on to the next one.
Thanks, Mike.
Hi, and who's with me?
Everyone's favorite king of useless knowledge, Joseph Butler, but please call me Joe.
Welcome. And as I have said multiple times already, what is your game of the year for 2023?
So, funny enough, as much as I would hate to admit it, and I have reasonings, I'm going to go off my other two really big games that I played, or probably three other really big games that I played this year, because there are some heavy contenders that I had. Full honestly, my game of the year this year probably would still be Baldur's Gate 3.
Okay, I didn't even know you played that.
Oh yeah,
I feel like you probably mentioned it, and I just brain went. Oh
yeah, well, there's probably a reason for that, and funny enough, I still haven't beaten it yet, and there's a really good reason for it as well. But I want to backpedal a little bit. So I play a lot of new stuff. I know you know that, Mike. I always try to play a lot of the new stuff and everything. Through what other games besides I think Super Mario Wonder, just because I don't really feel like playing Mario. Beginning of the year, I played Resident Evil Remake 4. I love that game a lot. It's a great game, a profound remake, but at the end of the day, I don't also feel like you shouldn't count a remake as a game of the year because you're basically piggybacking off what was already a good game and making it better. So I kind of feel like that's cheating. Alan Wake 2 was also a very higher contender but that game still has a lot of problems that I find personally. Funny enough, in the first segment of the game, whenever you actually fight the what's considered the first boss of the game, You've played Alan Wake, right, Mike?
Yes, I played it. I love Alan Wake 1. I played it on this podcast too. You can go listen to the episode.
One of the issues that I had with it is with that boss fight is that they finally balanced it because I played New Game Plus for it as well, and the second time I did it, it was actually super easier. So I guess when I played it, because it was the first day it came out, it wasn't balanced, and just like dodging into the trees got me turned around upside down. I never knew where I was. I died to that first boss like 10 times. It was incredibly annoying. And as much as the game is atmospheric and the game has a bunch of cool, musical moments that I know you'll totally get a kick out of.
Oh, I'm gonna play it. Later, probably.
And then the other game that was also these two games being a very close second was Spider-Man 2. I did like Spider-Man 2. Have you played the first one?
Yes, this is never the DLC, but I love the first one and Miles Morales.
Oh, that's fine. But yeah. The second game does not hit as hard as the first game. I legitimately the ending to Spider-Man 1. I cried at the ending of that game with the Aunt May scene, like bawling my eyes out completely. But top tier, I have to go with Baldur's Gate 3, which I'm going to hammer into for your interview. I can't say you can't have this game just because of how many like facto decisions that you can have throughout this game. Complete character customization. You also have to make a like guide character that you meet a couple times through the game. And funny enough, I think it's funny because the character is supposed to be a romantic option, and people, whenever you're first introduced, that character very much like shows that they're in love with you. And there's a bunch of guys who are like, I just made the other character a regular guy, so when he shows up, and he starts like, trying to kiss you and stuff, it's really weird. It's like, well, what'd you expect? It says it's like your fantasy person. But all the different classes you can pick, and what is it called? Like races and all the other secondary part classes you can pick. Baldur's Gate 1 or Baldur's Gate 3 is split up into 3 acts. I still haven't officially gotten past the first act. I've gone past the first act once because I've restarted the game 4 times because I've been playing with my partner.
For Baldur's Gate?
Yeah, for Baldur's Gate 3.
Okay.
Yeah, and
that makes sense. If you're playing with someone else, it's hard to really like make progress sometimes.
But there's just so much. I'll send you this clip that this girl made for her YouTube channel, and I'll give you an example. I'll use that as well. There's a area which is full of goblins, and there's so many ways you can tackle it. You can straight up just kill everyone. You can use a fireball with one of the wizard characters that you can have, and because you have to basically go save the leader of the druids. And you can tackle that like 30 different ways. I've seen people say they had to smear shit on their face to get into the goblin camp, and like everyone makes a comment. I know one thing that we did, there was a baby owlbear that you can adopt, and it becomes a summon, and you can summon it whenever. It can die during battle, and it'll die permanently, but it's still a cool option to have because you can go back to camp and have a baby owlbear and have a dog, and I think you can also get a talking cat too.
That sounds cool. I've heard nothing but good things about Baldur's Gate 3. It looks really good.
Oh yeah, it's a D&D campaign. It's a full-fledged D&D like what if campaign. I always love having options in the games, and there's stuff because the reason why we stopped playing is because my partner we're talking about it, and there's stuff that we still missed because like one of the very first kind of missions that you get is you come up against a druid camp, and there's a bunch of halflings there. And the halflings and the druids are arguing because they think that the reason why their camp is becoming corrupt is because of the halflings. And so you're given tons of options. The head druid is missing, so the co-druid leader, who is kind of a bitch, and she's basically like, hey, I just want you to kick all the fucking halflings out. And she even has this kid like tied up with a snake, like fixing to kill her. And she's like, well, this kid tried to steal something, and you kind of have to finagle your way to be like, are you really going to be a bad person and like kill this kid? Which we always are able to convince her. And so through me and my partner's current playthrough, we ended up killing her. But then I want to say maybe about a month ago, we found out that there's a complete part that we missed and I don't even know how people found out about this, which is even weirder. There is a tree you can find like way far out from the camp. And in the tree is like a hidden letter, and you find out that the co-captain is being manipulated by the shadow druids, and that they kidnapped the head, which is Halson, who you can also romance. That's the big one where if you look it up, he can turn into a bear, and you can have sex with him while he's a bear, which is hilarious.
I heard about that. Yes.
Yeah. So me and my partner never knew that, and he's like, well, now I kind of want to go back and redo everything. And I'm like, this is our 3rd time going through this. Do you really want to go through it a 4th time? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, because he's been having so much fun playing as a bard. Like we've been hitting that whole game as much as you can do it. You can completely talk your way through pretty much every conversation.
That's cool.
And
that's
yeah.
Cool.
Oh yeah. And there's times you can fail stuff and have it be really awkward and really funny. I know. For future reference, because I know about it because TikTok spoils me on everything nowadays, especially with how big of a game this is.
Oh, this game blew up.
Yeah, there's a genie. You can also have the genie. You can be a genie, and just to distract him, you can fart, and he'll be so distracted that he'll forget to manipulate the roulette wheel you're at. And you can win, and he'll get mad that you cheated, and he'll send you back in time to the year 10,000 BC, and you have to fight a bunch of velociraptors to get out.
Okay. Do you run into a cave woman named Ayla too? That's when no, it's 65,000 BC. Never mind.
No.
Okay. No, I mean the game looks really interesting. Is it play kind of like Dragon Age Origins?
No, it plays like a turn-based top-down D&D campaign, basically. Your characters have movements and you have
Okay.
spell slots. Yeah. The one thing I can complain about it, which is there's always an issue with the game. The game has in-story dialogue that never really goes anywhere. Because whenever you do a short rest, you do have your companions that you meet. And all the companions are great, and it's a flavor of companion for everyone. From Will is a guy who made a pact with a demon, and he's slowly turning into a demon, and you have to basically help him get through that. Gale fell in love, which is the one romance everyone gets. Apparently, it's a glitch too, but they never decide to fix it because all the companions hit on you way too fast.
I thought
Gale,
that did get fixed.
no, they said they weren't going to fix it.
Oh.
Because everyone liked how easy it was, and you're like, fuck it, why mess with a good thing? Gale fell in love with literally the god of magic, and she basically kind of cursed him to where he can or can't fall in love with anyone. But funny enough, if he dies, his body kind of activates and he goes, "Hey, you need to bring me back." And you're like, "Why?" And it's like, "Oh, if you don't bring me back, my body will create basically a magical nuke and will kill the entire world." And you can call the bluff and be like, "Oh yeah, I'm not going to believe that." You will actually go back to camp, and when you do the long rest, which is a big rest because it's the story stuff happens, Gale's body will actually float up and explode, and you'll get a game over.
That's cool that's there.
Yeah.
All right. I definitely do want to check it out at some point.
Oh yeah, but it's also like if I could recommend it for you because you do have a Steam Deck, if you ever get bored, you can always just do the thing where if you play it, just play little increments of it if that's something that you really want to like play it down the long run. Because there's nothing wrong with it. It's very much a game where you can pick it up, play an hour, and then put it down, and then pick up the next day.
Yeah, you know me, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Maybe you'll have some downtime, but yeah.
Everything is a podcast at this point, unfortunately. So, fortunately and unfortunately, I love it. Who am I kidding? But all right. You got me more interested in Baldur's Gate 3. I mean, I've heard people talk about it. I've seen stuff about it, but I haven't. I mean, I don't look at games until they're years older, just because of the nature. Well, that, and I haven't jumped in the next gen, so that's a big part of it too. Yeah,
you get in there though. We played Gotham Knights. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, that was good.
But all the companions are great characters, and continue that. What's even funnier is Gale has to eat because you know how you have like items that are magically imbued, so you can find gloves, but the gloves also let you like lockpick easier. Gale has to eat. It's not really eating. He's taking the magical essence out of it. But people make a joke that it's eating, and he has to eat a magical item every day, or he'll also die. But I think you have to have him equipped to the party. If you don't have to worry about it. You have my personal favorite because he very much reminds me of my partner, Asterion, who's a vampire, and his story, which it also coincides with a lot of people, and I understand that too because his whole story is about he's a victim of abuse. Because the whole point is that he didn't want to turn into a vampire. And so, weirdly enough, a lot of them have different endings depending on what you do with them. Because they do have you being evil with them, or you doing something evil to them. So I know Asterian's options are either his main goal is because it's D&D, you also have the main goal. Asterian's main goal is to kill the vampire lord that turned him, because you find out that he was basically tortured for like 200 years and basically only fed like rats, and like he was basically beaten. I could say to death, but you're a vampire, so it can't kill him.
Yeah, you don't die. But I know what you mean, though. I'm very familiar with what you mean, that idea in fiction. Yeah, and you can either help him kill the vampire lord and everything will be okay, and you can also help him become one, and that's kind of his evil ending, which I think is pretty cool. And then you have my other favorite, which is Karlach, who's a big demon woman, and she can't touch people, and she's very much like she's a very bubbly, funny enough, a bubbly 6 foot tall character, which I think is great as well. And she has something called like an infernal heart. And basically, I think from whatever demon clan she's from, they sold her to what is essentially like the devil. And so she has an internal heart engine that makes her super hot, and she's your berserker character. But part of it is that she wants to turn that off because she wants to be able to touch people because she's missing out on a connection. Okay. Yeah, but all of it's great. I love the story so far. I love a lot of the options. I just wish, like I said earlier, there's a weird like in-game dialogue where every time you take a long rest, your companions are like, "Oh, what is it? We got to hurry up and go and get these," because the whole point is you have a mind flayer slug in your brain, and if it's in your brain for so long, it'll turn you into a mind flayer, but it never officially does, and that's part of the story. But then it's like, they could have at least written this a little bit better, because every time you go to sleep, they're like you'll wake up, the characters fighting and being like, "I think we should go now," and the other character's like, "I think we should take our time." And it's like, okay, then what's the point if it's not actually affecting us? Because you can take as long as you need to in the game, and Oh,
you'll
that's
be fine.
good. I hate time limits.
Yeah, there's no invisible, which is stupid, but it's like if the game acts like there's an invisible timer, but there isn't. So
That's fine. It can pretend all it likes. I'm okay with that fact. I won't complain.
Yeah. But yeah, it's pretty much my game of the year this year. We Baldur's Gate 3 with how many great options there are.
Okay. Hey, you got my 10. Oh, I mean, I in that game anyway, but I won't play it for years. You know what I mean? But all right, well, thank you for that, and stay tuned for the next one. And who is with me?
It is Nate.
And welcome, Nate. And where can people find you at?
You can find me on TikTok at Nate Does Comedy.
Oh, right.
And I don't think there's a 79 after it anymore.
Oh.
I don't know.
There'll be a link in the show notes. I have your TikTok.
Yeah, I tried to give that out to someone at work the other day, and they were like, "I can't find you," and I was like, "Oh." I don't know.
I don't know TikTok super well. As I've asked a few times now, what is your game of the year for 2023?
Okay, so it's a weird one, all right? Because I technically have not finished this game, but it is Alan Wake 2.
All right.
Yeah, just phenomenal game so far. I am 15 hours in, and it is like I heard all the hype about it. I said, "There's no way." I saw a clip of something very cool. I said, "This game looks freaking cool," and I got it last month, and I've been slowly playing through it. And I got to a part last night and today, which will be relevant time-wise for this. But I was like, this is way better. Like, this is my game of the year.
Okay.
And before that, it was Final Fantasy 16. Honorable mention. Shout outs to Final Fantasy 16. Also a very good game. Really fun. But man, there is just nothing like Alan Wake 2. Like this, I was very disappointed by Control. This is what I wanted Control to be. Like, just weird.
I haven't played Control yet. I'm actually going to be in March for this podcast, finally.
Oh, nice.
Well, I mean, I loved Alan Wake 1. Like, I never thought Alan Wake 2 was going to happen.
Yeah. I haven't played Alan Wake 1 since high school, but
if you grab every Epic game for free, you have it on Epic, by the way. So
I have it on PlayStation.
Oh, okay.
I have the remaster on PlayStation, and I started to play through it, but then I was like, I don't want to play this and then play through Control and then play through the Control DLC to just play Alan Wake 2. And my buddy said, "You don't have to do that. You can just play Alan Wake 2. And I said, "Oh, thank God."
Oh, I get that. I mean, I'm just saying, if you want to go back to Alan Wake after, like, some point after this, yeah, many ways to. I recommend it. I love that game so much. But what really grabbed you with this game?
The atmosphere. So it's like, it is way scarier than Alan Wake 1. It is survival horror. The story, like the narrative threads that they are dropping, and then it just oozes style. Like, there's nothing like I said, there's nothing else like this game in the market right now. I feel like there's a sequence that is just like, it is so cool and so bizarre that you're like, I can't believe I'm seeing this in a video game. Like, it is amazing.
All right, I'm very excited to dig into it. This is because I know it's PS5 and new next gen only.
Yeah,
PC. That's the reason I haven't touched. I have no interest.
Also, over the weekend, I don't know if it's still good, but there was an Epic Store coupon, and you could get the game and Alan Wake remastered for like $30.
Yeah. I don't know if my PC could run it, to be honest with you. I don't want to find out the hard way. Like,
I get it. It is also a very good looking game, but like playing it, the Silent Hill 2 remake is being developed by Bloober Team, and I really wish this game had existed when Konami was shopping around for developers, because I would love to see Remedy do Silent Hill 2. Like, I think they would pull it off, because this game so far is pulling off the atmosphere and the scares.
All right. Silent Hill 2 is not really scary, though. It just fucks with you.
Silent Hill is like tangent.
I need to replay Silent Hill 2 so bad because I played it for the show, and that episode is I bashed that game.
Oh man,
I was not in the right mood. It was
I get
so
it.
I'm gonna redo it, a recover of some point this year. You're in this in 2024. I'm going to. So it's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's definitely a game that you have to be in the mood for, but it's one of those. It's a different kind of horror game where it sticks with you after. So like you'll be in a dark room and you're just like, oh, what if this creature existed? At least that's how like Silent Hill always scared me. Like in the moment I was like, yeah, that's kind of creepy, and then afterwards it'd be like, but what if it existed?
Are you into horror games normally?
Yeah, but I'm also a big scaredy cat.
I am too.
So, yeah, I love
Okay.
playing them, but then I go, oh, I regret this immediately.
That's what, because I think that can also kind of like, that's why I was curious, like for Alan Wake 2, like I feel for some people aren't even fans of survival horror and they're able to get into this game too. That's why I was curious.
Oh yeah, it's very accessible. I've only died a few times. Like it's difficult on just like the normal difficulty, like it's a good challenge. I wouldn't say it's like
Okay.
unfair. And I did something in like that I very rarely do in games. I turned off
Platinum
the
mode?
HUD.
Oh,
Yeah,
Okay,
I was like, I don't want to see my health. I don't want to see how
can't
many
do
flashlight charges. Like it is so much more intense. Like I'm doing it to myself, but
well, no,
I'm
it makes
like,
sense. I mean, I love when video games have features to let you adjust so you can play the way that you want to play. Like, I'm happy with any game says, here, you want on the very easy difficulty? Here you go, sir. Very
Yeah.
easy, have fun. Like, no, I mean, that's awesome that it's there. Like, I wouldn't have liked it had it just been like automatic, like there is no HUD period. I mean, I've gamed like that before, but I appreciate today where they're like, here's different accessibility options. We want more people to enjoy our game.
yeah,
So, and this one's more traditional survival horror where you actually like are running out of ammo and less on supplies, right? Unlike Alan Wake 1, I was never out of supplies.
I don't see. I mean, knock on wood, I haven't ran out of like supplies or anything yet. Like I actually have an overabundance of them, but I don't know if
That's
that's
always nice.
just because I'm being, I'm playing it like how I would classic Resident Evils,
Okay.
where like, I'm like, oh, I'm never going to have another shotgun bullet again. So I'm like saving them and then like I use them when I need to.
If you play Code Veronica,
every
that's
enemy-
partly true.
Yeah, every enemy gets a handgun until I need to pull out the shotgun.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's how I play all these type of games too. Anytime the ammo becomes a scarce thing, I'm very careful.
Yeah, but even then it hasn't like really become scarce, so I need to kind of loosen up and just let my shotgun fly. But it's so far it is amazing. Like it's I mean, I haven't finished it yet, like I said, but if it sticks the landing, like I'll be happy.
I'm sure it will from everything I heard, but that's still impressive. Like, even though the game, hey, you haven't even finished it, how much you're, in love with it. It makes me happy to hear.
Yeah. It reminds me of last year's game of the year for me, which is Chained Echoes, where I hadn't even finished it, but I was like, yeah, this is just clearly like miles above everything else that I played this year.
Also on this podcast, you can listen to that episode. Go look up that Alan Wake. Hey, I got to plug anytime. Like, people,
Hey, I get it.
Even people who listen to the show, like, hey, maybe you didn't know we did this. Go look, because we got too many episodes.
Yeah. And
That's always my
you should,
mindset.
everyone should go play Chained Echoes.
I've been watching reviews of Alan Wake 2 a little bit. I'm mostly trying to stay away from it because I already know I'm going to play it someday.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just probably not going to get to it till like 2025 or something when I buy a PS5 at some point.
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah.
I don't want one. My wife's like, we can buy one. I'm like, because it was Black Friday. I remember looking and I saw it. They had the PS5 with Spider-Man 2 and I was like, but I just can't do it.
You should get one. It's
Not
super
ready.
cool.
Is this game digital only though?
It is, unfortunately.
I mean, I don't mind that for PC because, well, PC.
Yeah.
I get it. I know people are not happy with that fact. So, but
See, I got this and Baldur's Gate 3 pretty much the same day. Like I got birthday money, and I was kind of bummed that there was no physical edition to BG Baldur's Gate 3. And then after I purchased it, Larian was like, hey, coming next year is the physical version of Baldur's Gate 3. And I was like, son of a bitch.
well, I mean, it's just that's where we're headed. We're headed into a digital world. So,
Right.
but I thought that I heard this game was digital only, but that's just
Yeah.
where we're headed. And
I mean,
get it.
if it keeps, like I think their reasoning was that it keeps costs low, like so they could put more money into development, I guess, or something like that.
You don't have to pay for all the trouble of having DVD cases manufactured, having CDs printed, having art for those said items printed out.
Yeah.
I get it. Like the logistics costs and everything, like that does eat into it. So, and didn't they sell this for $60 too, and not 70?
Yeah, it's 60.
That's nice too.
It is, but if they ever make a physical version, like I'll probably buy it physically. Especially my kryptonite is steelbook cases. Like, if you have a nice steelbook, chances are like you're getting, I'll spring for the extra steelbook. Has anyone asked what's your game of the year?
I haven't played anything from 2023, but yes, in our first episode the first interview you heard in the series, yes. I'll say on here, like for me, I mean, the closest game I played is Gotham Knight, and that was last year. So it's Chain Deck. Both are amazing games.
Oh yeah.
I haven't really thought about just games that I played this year that I love the most, but maybe I'll do that at the end of this. Maybe that'll be the last interview here. Who knows?
Hey, game of the year can be any new game. To me, game of the year episodes I played during that year that was new to me that I had never experienced before is like that can be game of the year.
Yeah, but not for like what I want to do. It would have been like the way that like a game show or a way that like a YouTuber would be, what is the best game that came out this year?
I see. Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean. That's how I look at game of the year. But no, I don't play anything that new because I just don't want to.
See, I wish I had that mindset, but I get FOMO,
Oh, I get it.
And I'm like, oh man, I need to play this. Like,
I'm also a cheap bastard, so there's that too. But
yeah, I get that. Well, yeah,
I've said this before on this podcast, depending on when this releases, but I'm going to say it here. I mean, the last game I pre-ordered was Breath of the Wild the day it came out, and I am now playing it in December of 2023 for the first time. So, like, that, like, that kind of, like, she'll put it right there. Like, I bought the game the day it came out for Wii U, played it for a few hours, got to the Zora place, got to the Divine Beast, couldn't figure out what to do, and put the game down, didn't come back for 5-6 years. So, whatever math is, I don't feel like figuring it out. But yeah, been a lot.
Something like that, yeah.
I can't do it because if I buy a game at full price, I have to play it immediately to justify full price. And when I do a podcast where every week I review different games, it's hard. So
I'm gonna reveal something about me. They brought the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters to consoles this year.
Yes.
And $80. All right. I told my partner at the beginning of the year, I said, the only games I'm getting this year, baby, that I'm interested in are Final Fantasy 16 and Tears of the Kingdom. That's all I want. That's all I need.
So you lied to her, huh?
Yeah, these motherfuckers brought this to consoles. And I played them within the last 3 years because I went like on a Final Fantasy adventure,
I remember talking about that too.
Yeah, I played through all of them. And I was like, I don't, $80, like I want them, but I don't need them. And then they said, if you buy them before like May something, you got avatars for your PlayStation profile. And I could not click the purchase button fast enough, Mike. And I was like, damn it, I hate this about myself. And I'll tell you, barely even touched them. I'm like, son of a bitch, man. They got me. They said, you can get some avatars.
Look at the bright side. You got the avatars.
I got the avatars. I got my little Cecil.
Cecil's great, or Cecil, how I said as a kid.
Yeah.
You know what? I can't completely blame you on this one.
Yeah, I call him Cecil because I played the DS version, and they have voice acting.
Oh, okay. I never played that.
It's good. It's hard, but it is good.
4 is hard in general.
Yeah, apparently I looked it up and I was like halfway through, and it was like the DS version is the hardest version. I was like, oh, good for me.
And do you have any other quick recommendations you want to make for games that came out this year?
Yes, for sure. Final Fantasy 16 is really good. Tears of the Kingdom is okay. I think Octopath Traveler 2, I need to put more time into that, but that is a very gorgeous game and the music is really good. And Spider-Man 2. And Resident Evil 4 Remake. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I was looking at my list here. I played more 2023 games than I thought I did. But yeah, incredible year for video games.
Okay.
Like, sorry, go ahead. You can end this now.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for joining me, Nate, and thank you for sharing that. And
No problem.
Stay tuned for the next one.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
And who's with me tonight?
I am the Let's Play Princess Phoebe Stanton.
Hi, Phoebe. And what is your game of the year for 2023?
Well, I think it comes to no surprise. The sequel to one of my favorite games ever finally came out after 13 years, and it lived up to every bit of hype that I had for it myself, and every single bit of hype that the game industry had for it. Alan Wake 2.
All right. I kind of had figured that's what it was going to be back when we first talked anyway. And that's fine. I mean, I'm so excited to play it someday. So what drew you to this game? I mean, I assume you loved the first one.
Yeah, when I got the first one, I pre-ordered it. I went day of. I think I skipped school for it that day. But once that first game came out, it established Remedy in my mind as one of my favorite developers. They haven't failed me since then. But to see a game go through so many different media types and pull off every single one of them, it is quite a sight to behold. I've never thought a game could be a game, a book, a musical, a student journal art film, an independent 15-minute long horror film, which you can absolutely miss. And every single one of them is done so perfectly that there's nothing much I could say besides you should just go play the game yourself if you love the first game or Control.
Are you into horror games normally?
Yes and no. There are some that I like. There's some that I don't like. I'll honestly just try any type of genre.
Okay.
Give everything a shot. Yeah, some of my favorite horror games of all time at this point have been more recent ones like Stories Untold and Signalis, and this is definitely up there with those.
That game looks amazing. In the interview right before this, I talked with Joe about Alan Wake 2. That was also his game of the year.
Nice. Go Joe.
Just everything I hear about this game, it just sounds like I loved Alan Wake when it came out 12 years ago. I loved it so much, and I just kind of moved. Like, I never thought we'd get a sequel, and I will say that I thought they were done. I'm like, it's 13 years, they don't care. 12 years, whatever it was. I'm like, they don't care. And I couldn't believe when I heard that this was announced.
Hey, it took them 28 years to make a sequel to Tron, and I like that movie as much as I like the original. So
I've never seen the original. I like that.
Well,
I mean, Alan Wake 2, it's very much a horror game this time, from what I've heard.
It is very much a horror game as the original game was a thriller. The whole plot point is Alan has been stuck in the dark place for 13 years and is trying to find a way out. And so this time he's writing a horror novel. Of course, that means that in order to get out and make the hero stronger, the monster itself has to be stronger. You can't go through a horror thing without the problem itself getting bigger and bigger without sacrifices being made. And Alan knows that and is willing to both put himself and other people in the crossfire to make the problem go away once and for all, which is something that gets pointed out is even other characters are going, no, you can't fuck with our lives.
Yeah. Okay. I'm very excited to play it, and just everything I've seen. I've watched reviews. Are you playing it with the HUD, or did you turn off the HUD like Joe?
Oh my god, you can turn off the HUD?
Yes.
Oh shit, I should have done that. That sounds so cool.
Yeah, Joe said he turned off the HUD and played it that way.
No, I played it with the HUD, and I just finally finished recording and beating it this past week, I think on Friday.
Okay.
And yeah, it's definitely a lot more of a survival horror game than the original. For people who've played the original, you might remember, even if you're playing on some of the harder difficulties, you're not going to have a problem with ammo conservation. You're not going to have a problem with getting rid of all the enemies before you continue out of an area. Here, you're going to be low on ammo constantly within the first boss fight, and there are boss fights in this game.
Okay.
I used every single bullet and found 5 different boss fountains in the arena and wasted the ammo in every single one of them and still left the arena with, I think, 2 revolver bullets left. And I went, okay, what the fuck am I supposed to do now?
All right. I can handle that in sometimes, as long as a survival horror game expects you to actually kill things and not like Code Veronica where it expects you to avoid everything. So I'm okay with that.
Later on, you'll definitely have the ability to save up a lot more ammo. But in the earlier chapters, you'll want to think strategically on who you want to kill and why.
And I lied. It wasn't Joe. Joe was Baldur's Gate 3. Nate.
That makes
it was
sense.
Nate. That was Alan Wake 2. Never mind. I had my thing wrong. So just to correct people are like, wait, you just said that. Like, hey, these are all being recorded in different days and different times. I don't remember the hell.
Hey, you're fine. Don't worry.
Not for you. That's for the audience, because people who are listening to this will be like, why did he just misquote himself that he recorded 15 minutes ago? So that's all.
Don't worry, audience. If you work night shift, every day bleeds into each other, and you don't remember what you ate the day before.
No, that's fair. I worked third shift too before. And do you have any honorable mentions also for this year that you played?
Hey, speaking of Baldur's Gate 3, there's that.
Okay.
It finally allows me to give closure to my first D&D character, which is really nice. Armored Core 6, that game is absolutely fantastic.
I forgot that came out this year.
Yeah, and I think that is actually my favorite From Software game. Whenever I start playing it, thinking I'm only going to do one mission, I end up doing an entire act. And finally, nobody else I think is going to bring this game up, but Master Detective Archives Rain Code.
No, I don't think anyone else will.
It is a Switch exclusive by the people who do Danganronpa, Spike Chunsoft. If you like Danganronpa, it's that type of silly anime mystery-solving quirkiness.
Okay, I've never even heard of it, but that's not surprising. I also don't follow... I'm not a big Switch gamer, usually, so...
Oh, I buy so many games on my Switch now. I never have the time to play them because I'm only exclusively playing them during breaks at work.
Yeah, that makes it a lot harder.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like right now,
I
working
just,
through Live.
I'm just not a big Switch guy. Like, I don't know. Well, I'm a big PC guy, mainly at this point. Plus, I only play what's up for the show, and I just Switch... Anything Nintendo just seems like you have to pay Nintendo tax, and I'm like, fuck you. So, yeah, I don't do it.
Fair.
That's a big part of it. I'm a cheap bastard. I want my games for $10 or less, but I waited for 4 years to play them. I don't want to be like, hey, you know, it's been 5 years. You get to still pay $60. Congratulations, guy. And I'm like, no. Like,
Okay, now, to be fair, they do counterbalance that by having the cheapest online
I know.
possible.
I mean, I pay for the online every year. I have a subscription that never ends at this point. I just don't care. Like, it's cheap enough that, like, but no, I mean, I still always be upset. You should never, like, I should not have had to pay Breath of the Wild for $60 in 2023. I paid less, but I bought it used. But that game should have been brought down to 20 or 30 brand new. Period. Like at this point, like period. Stop. And that's so I'm very much not a big Nintendo guy because of things like that. So
No, I can understand.
there's my rant. Any other honorable mentions?
Oh my god, Final Fantasy 16. How the hell did I forget that?
Because it came out like early in the year, right?
Yeah, I think June, but that was one of the better character action games I've played, and it's, besides the MMO, the best Final Fantasy game I've played in a while. Not counting 7 Remake, but I mean, Lightning Returns was ugh. And 15 is also ugh. So to see 16 have a full plot, which was definitely something nice, first of all. Really good gameplay, really good story. Some of the best voice acting I've seen in a video game this year. Just 16 was so good.
Okay, that's what I heard. One of the people I interviewed earlier just loved 16 also, so you're not alone. All right, anything else, or is that it?
I'm trying to think of other games, but I think that is actually it.
Okay. All right, well, thank you, Phoebe, for joining me.
Thank you, Mike.
And stay tuned for the next one. Hi, who's with me?
Oh, hey, it's Michael Colby.
And welcome. And as I've said at this point a few times, what is your game of the year for 2023?
Okay, I have one. Can I do my runners up?
Sure, feel free, however you want.
Okay, I have a top 5. So I'm going to go in ascending order. So number 5 is Armored Core 6. It's just fun to play. It's just a fun video game to play. It's from software, so it has like a deceptively deep story. But the real reason that I had fun playing it is because it's fun to play. Like every second that you're piloting the mech that you spend hours crafting is fun. It controls great. It's fun to shoot other mechs. It's just a great game. Number 4, Assassin's Creed Mirage.
Okay.
it's a real Assassin's Creed game. It has all of the Assassin's Creed stuff, including the climbing jank, which I love. It also has a surprisingly good ending and no modern day stuff, which I hated. So
that makes me sad. I like the modern day stuff.
I have people who like the modern day stuff too, but I just did my best to get through it as fast as possible. This is all the stuff that I like about it. But yeah, great game if you like old Assassin's Creed games. Number 3 is Wolong Fallen Dynasty. I didn't actually love Sekiro. This plays like Sekiro, but it's a little bit more Souls-like. It has a created character. You can pick a different build, and you don't have to be like as perfect as Sekiro makes you be. So it made me I like the gameplay of Sekiro. I just couldn't get good at it. So this was not as punishing. So I like this a lot more. My number 2 game was my game of the year for pretty much most of the year. It's called Chia. It's
TCHIA.
Yep. It has all the stuff that I actually liked about Breath of the Wild. It has the climbing, the gliding, like the fun stuff to do, but the world is smaller, so it's not so desolate and boring as Breath of the Wild. And it also had like likable characters with like a story that happened and like honest to God feelings from this game. The villain did some of the most villainous shit you've ever seen. Like as the ending came up, like, you know, something would happen and I was laughing, and then like 2 seconds later I'm crying because, you know, something terrible happens. Like a legitimate emotional roller coaster of a game. It's a beautiful game that I love, and I can't say enough about it. Like it's like a 6-hour game. So if you have access to it, you should play it because it is wonderful. It's a wonderful game.
Comes out next year or 2024 for PC.
Okay.
That's how I'm going to buy it at some point on sale.
Beautiful. You really should, because it's great. And anyone with a PlayStation should play it. But about 3 weeks ago, it got knocked off of its throne because Alan Wake 2 came out. So my game of the year is Alan Wake 2.
All right.
Honestly, it's the best horror, like the best survival horror game I've ever played. And I've played all the major ones. I've played all the Silent Hills. I've played all the Resident Evils. I've played all the Alone in the Darks. Like survival horror is my thing. I love that kind of thing. And usually there's something a little bit off about it, but I think Alan Wake 2 is kind of perfect. It has a creepy atmosphere that keeps you on edge. It keeps the resources out of your hands the way it should, but it never feels like it's like stifling you like some of the old Resident Evils did. The combat's way better than in the first one. I thought the first one was sort of a slog to get through. If, you know, the story kept me going, but the gameplay was not really up to snuff on the first Alan Wake. But this one, the gameplay is fun. The atmosphere is perfect. It has jump scares that actually scare you.
I don't know how I feel about that, but yeah, I have heard.
It's so good. And like, I've heard people complaining about the ending, but anybody complaining about the ending didn't play the game or didn't understand what was happening. Like, if you thought that game was going to end with a satisfactory tying up of the entire game and like a boss fight or something, then you haven't been paying attention to what was going on in this game. This is a psychological, like, crazy mind freak of a game. And the way that it ends was the perfect way for this game to end. And literally no complaints about this game.
Okay. You were the third person I've talked to in a row that Alan Wake 2 was their game.
It's really good. And just the fact that like they're putting everything together into like a Remedy verse, I think is amazing. I've always been like, I played the Max Payne games 1 and 2, the good ones. And I was a big fan of those back in the day. Like I said, I wasn't huge on the first Alan Wake. It took me actually till this year to play all the way through the first Alan Wake, but I did play American Nightmares. I thought that was better.
Okay, that's a hot take. I haven't played American Nightmare in years.
I think it was just because the first Alan Wake, like I said, I didn't really click with the combat. I didn't really click with the gameplay, and there was so much of the gameplay. I think in American Nightmare, just for the fact that it was shorter, was what kept me going with that one. I thought that was fun to do. I actually really enjoyed Quantum Break. And then Control is like my number 3 video game of all time. So having them tie all of these games together, I think is just really cool. Remedy is getting up there with From Software for me in like, I'm just going to buy whatever they are selling me because everything I've played, especially recently, has been incredible. And I wanted to say that Chia was my game of the year, but Alan Wake just checked off every single box. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to say that Chia was, but I couldn't, because the more I played of Alan Wake, I was like, no, this is almost a perfect video game for me.
No, I mean, the more everybody's talking about Alan Wake 2, like, that's the game where I'm like, maybe I should buy a PS5 at some point. Like,
it's, yeah, I don't know if it warrants the $500 investment.
Well, no, I mean, if I bought it, I mean, there's other games I would play, but I'm not like, I mean, mostly the PS5 would also be a Blu-ray player too, so
yeah,
not as necessary.
Yeah, but yeah, it's. I was legitimately shocked when it didn't win Game of the Year at the Video Game Awards.
What won Game of the Year?
Baldur's Gate 3, which I think is probably right, just because it is like a big deal. Like Baldur's Gate 3 is a big deal. For me personally, it didn't click with me. Like that type of combat is not the type of thing that I really get into. So Baldur's Gate 3 was never even in the running for me this year. But I do appreciate the fact that it's there. That kind of game normally doesn't get as much press as Baldur's Gate 3 did, and I think it deserves it because it's a very well crafted game. It just it didn't do it for me, which is fine.
It's also a huge game too, from what I've seen. So
yeah, I didn't get nearly as far into it as I probably should, and I'll play it at some point, but I can't imagine it taking over for Alan Wake. It's just too good. This is exactly my wheelhouse.
All right, I'm glad. I'm glad to hear all these people are really enjoying Alan Wake too. It makes me excited to play it. Where I don't know. I just wasn't excited as I should have been because I was like, it's been so many years.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna like, whatever.
I may have skipped it too if Control didn't come out because like I said, I finally beat it this year, but I tried it like 3 or 4 times previous because I bought it right away and I just never got all the way through it. And I was just like, you know what, maybe Alan Wake just isn't my thing. And then I played through it because I like Control so much. And then I was like, all right, well, now I'm properly psyched for this thing. And don't get me wrong, Alan Wake 2 is definitely like that Remedy style of up its own ass. but like, unlike the way that Max Payne 3 was up its own ass, but in the Rockstar way where you can't have any fun with it, Alan Wake does have the Remedy like fun sections, and they don't feel crowbarred in like Rockstar games do.
I get that. As a guy who played Red Dead Redemption not too long, earlier this year, I get it completely.
Yeah. I don't mind a serious game, but Rockstar never does it balanced the way that I like. I know people love those games, and I'm not like talking shit on them as a whole. I just mean for me personally, this is like I like a serious game, and this is definitely serious and like heady, but I've also never seen a video game with as complicated of a story as Alan Wake has. Sort of tell the player what's going on in a very complicated story in a gameplay segment that takes maybe a half an hour. And then you're like, oh, okay, I get what's going on here. And that carries you through the whole game. And I was like shocked that they were able to do that because it is a complicated story. But you play this one section that's pretty early in the game and you're like, oh, okay, I see how this works. and they never go crazy with it. They never, go, oh no, this is how what Alan Wake is going through works. And it's really cool that they could do that in such a small gameplay segment. And I think it's pretty much perfect. And that is everything I have to say about Alan Wake 2.
All right, I appreciate that. I can't believe I have 3 people in a row because this was not, for those listening, this was not planned. Nobody told me their game of the years. I just throw them together in the order that I record them in. So, all right. Well, thank you, Michael. And where can people find you at?
People can find me at Jack Billings Presents Haunted Apartment Complex. It is a scripted comedy podcast that takes place in an alternate dimension, Reading, Ohio. My character is a ghost, and we have all sorts of wacky characters on that show. You can also find me talking to my lovely and talented co-host, B. Highland. We talk about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure we sort of talk about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure on This Bizarre Adventure, which has gotten a little bit out of our control, but it's a pretty fun show.
Okay. And thank you, Mike, for joining. This was also, as I want to put on recording, this was your idea for me to do this.
Yes. So I said I came up with the idea of a Game of the Year thing for a video game podcast.
Yeah, who would have thought? I haven't done one in 5 years. I wasn't going to do one, but because of you and I was like, okay, I'll make it happen.
Yeah.
So
well, thank you. It's fun. And I know that people love Game of the Year stuff.
Yeah.
So hopefully you get some new ears on the podcast because it is a great podcast and maybe we can get some more people to join the Discord.
That would be nice. There will be a plug at the end of this whole thing. And on to the next one. Hi, who's with me?
Zach Czech.
And welcome back. And as I've said before, what is your game of the year for 2023?
It's Dead Island 2.
All right. I did not expect that. I didn't even know that came out.
Yeah, it came out in February.
All right.
Yeah,
8 months ago is what IGN says, and I clicked on a little bit just now.
Yeah, it was a big surprise. Dead Island 2 was announced in 2015.
Yeah. I never thought it was actually going to come out.
And and it went through 3 different developers. And I was pretty excited about who was developing it because I had really liked the previous game, Homefront: The Revolution.
Oh, which one?
Homefront: The Revolution, the developer.
Oh, okay.
And I really loved that game, and it wasn't super great critically or selling, I guess.
That franchise died. I played the first Homefront once because it was short and quick, but that was it. I've never touched the sequel.
Yeah, the sequel was like a kind of a Far Cry, like a smaller size Far Cry.
Okay. Oh, I also tried someday. What about Dead Island 2 grabbed you? That made you were you a big fan of Dead Island 1? That's what I should ask first.
Yeah, I loved Dead Island. I think the game ran a little too long but I still beat it 3 or 4 times, maybe even more. And then Dead Island Riptide I've beat 6 or 7 times.
Nice.
And I liked this one because the sections of the world were smaller, so you could play through each area and just fast travel back. It wasn't fully open.
That's kind of nice sometimes. I'm not a big I do like open world games, but I need my fast travel.
Oh yeah, there's you can run to each section, but it's not necessary. there's like loading in between each area, and the areas aren't super huge. So that was kind of nice because coming off of like other open world games where they just getting bigger and bigger and bigger is it's crazy. But
one right now.
yeah, the combat is really awesome. It has some of the craziest like maiming and gore. I'm not like a huge gore person, but like if you hit someone in the knee, like their clothes, their skin, their muscle and bone just get taken away. You hit them in the chest. Just it doesn't matter where you hit them. And I don't know, it feels like it hits hard when you hit someone.
Is Dead Island 2 a horror game at all, or is it just horror setting?
I think it's just the zombies.
Okay.
It's just like all the games are taken like in real beautiful locations, and this one, the graphics and art style are just way above the other games too.
That's cool. I've always been curious about the Dead Islands. Well, the Dead Island 1 and Riptide, which I own multiple copies of, but I didn't know, like, I've just never known much about them. Are they very much like kind of like Borderlands, like very looter shooters?
Yeah, they have like the green, gold, purple, the different colored loot. It doesn't throw near as much at you as Borderlands, so it's kind of nice. So you're not just like constantly like trying to get rid of things. And this one, I think it dialed it back too. So you have a few different. You're not constantly getting new stuff, but and you can also upgrade your stuff to be at your level, so you don't have to like pick up everything and sort through it a lot.
Oh, that's cool. I appreciate that, because sometimes you have a certain weapon that you like and you don't really want to change it out.
Yeah. I basically kept as many brass knuckles as possible.
Dead Island is mostly melee, right? For its combat?
Yeah, there's guns and stuff, but you kind of just use them for a few of the humans that show up. I don't think there weren't humans in this one that you had to fight like you did the other games either.
Okay, that's cool. I completely forgot this game even came out in general. Like like you were saying earlier, I remember people talking about it, but I just figured, never gonna happen. So, or be trash.
Yeah, I pre-ordered it in 2015, and sometime in like 2018 or so I stopped going to GameStop because like the nearest one is like 30 miles away, so I didn't really go there very often. But I remember buying something and they're like, hey, you want to use this $5 you put on Dead Island 2 towards this? Like, sure.
They're like, it's never coming out. Why don't you use your money for something good? Because I think that used to hurt stores and their metrics for GameStop if people refunded their pre-orders.
Oh, okay.
They might have changed it, but at one time that did affect them. GameStop's was not a good place.
No, I kind of feel bad because I stopped getting Game Informer magazine a while back, but there's like no reason to have a membership there anymore.
To be fair, there is no magazine. I mean, there is no physical magazine anymore either. So.
Oh, they did away with the.
It's only digital now.
Oh man.
I'm pretty sure that happened at some. I mean, yeah, GameStop is gonna go away. I'm surprised it's still here. So, but that's a different conversation. But I'm assuming this game was also in Game Informer at some point. It must have been. But
they did do a cover for it around the time, or a little bit before it released. I don't know if they did one when it was announced, but I just remember every time I'd hear news about a new developer taking over, I'd be like, all right, it's still being worked on. And you wouldn't hear news for months.
I'm flabbergasted I'm flabbergasted it even came out and that it turned out good. But I'm also glad to hear something different that somebody loved from this year.
Yeah.
I did not expect this.
I started off with the older games. Each person had a sort of specialty. They don't have that in this one. I think there's a few skills each character. I think there's like 6 or 8 characters or something that have a few skills that they share, but they're mostly different. And so the first one I played as Danny. She's like a punk rocker, and I love punk rock, so I was like, yes. And they started me off with a dodge skill with the time dodges. I couldn't get it right, but you end up getting a block later. So through the whole game, I switched to block and had a good time. But when I played my second playthrough with Carla, she like wears like dirt bike pants and boots and stuff. And she sounded like she had just like constantly had a smile on her face or slightly sarcastic when talking to people. So I don't know. Every time she'd say something, it was always funny. And like she was just having a great time hitting zombies and stuff. And I found an awesome like gear and skill setup that made me love the combat just like 3 times more than I played on my first time.
Okay.
And one of the skill cards, you get these weird skill cards that just you can pick and choose from. And I found one called Pummel, and if you hit someone in quick succession, you gain a boost to your force. So like each weapon has a force number attached to it, and you can also mod weapons to increase force. So I would do a high impact mod that increases the force, and then I would combine that with empowering for critical hits getting increased damage, and unstable for landing critical hits for a chance of explosion.
But that was bloody.
Yeah, and so like we just get faster and hit harder, and then at the same time with other skill cards you can regain health. So I would just stand in the middle of these like big old mobs of zombies with brass knuckles on, just punching, just throwing haymakers. And like most of the game, you have like a severe disadvantage when there's more than like 1 or 2 zombies. But like halfway through the game, I was just like demolishing, just blows or like explosions happening everywhere from all the critical hits I was landing. And I don't know, I had so much more fun.
Okay. And before we wrap this up, do you have any honorable mentions that came out this year that you played that you want to mention?
Oh yeah, Atomic Heart.
Oh, okay.
That was another game that like had it was announced in like 2019 and just kind of disappeared off the map for a while. And I played through that one twice. Like I almost started it over right after I finished it. And Bendy and the Dark Revival, I really like that one.
Okay. I didn't even know that case came out. All right. Well, thank you, Zach.
Oh, you're welcome.
And do you have anything to plug? I can't remember, and I forgot to ask you.
No, I don't have anything.
Okay.
Just an overblown fan.
Thank you for sharing, and stay tuned for the next one.
Bye.
Hi, who's with me?
All right, this is Kyle. I've been on the show before for the Shadow Hearts cast, and I'm also on the RPG Show podcast.
All right, and welcome, and what is your game of the year for 2023?
Boy, tough choice. We can go over some of my other ones later on, but actually, and a weird one for me, being the RPG guy, I suppose, I'm going to pick Spider-Man 2.
All right.
I thought it was a really good game, and for the other games, what actually had this one make it for me was, I think, technologically, it was one of the better games I've seen on the PS5. I'm a PS5 guy, so I'll say that. But I'd say this game, I mean, the things they were able to do, a lot of games get rid of loading screens by doing, going through a small tunnel or pressing X at a door. But this was seamless. You could fast travel across the entire map within probably 3 seconds of pressing a button, and it would load every asset within a couple blocks of you. Wildly impressive. No loading screens in the entire game. Thought that was absolutely fantastic. The haptic feedback on the controller is honestly wild. I've never played a game that I felt more into the game. Like the webs when you're holding the controller, you can kind of feel when they start and stop. When you're riding a bike, even, it feels like you're riding a bike holding a controller. It's like the weirdest thing I've ever had to explain to somebody, but it does, honestly.
Okay.
I would give it a try. Yeah, you can feel like the feedback from the bike. When you pedal faster, the controller rumbles a little bit more in your hands, and when you're going slower, you're just striding, it doesn't. So I just think they did a really good job with that. And overall, gameplay is great. They always do a great job with combat. I thought having both Miles and Peter was really fun. You got to mix it up a little bit. The enemies were great. Craven was great. Voice acting was great. The story was good. So I really did enjoy it overall. And played a ton of games this year. And yeah, it took me a while to pick this one out. But I do think that the most fun I had was with Spider-Man 2.
I'm really curious about it. I loved the first one. I never played the DLC. I enjoyed Miles, but I don't have a PS5. On Black Friday, I looked at a PS5, went, and it came with Spider-Man 2, and I'm like, my wife like, we should. I'm like, no, I can't do it. I can't. But,
yeah, if you could go back, I would.
At some point, I'm kind of waiting for the next model, the PS5 first to come out. Because they always make another model, so I'm just waiting.
Exactly. And I will say this is one of the few games on the PS5 that does truly run at 60 FPS. That's not something that really gets me all the time, but I know a lot of people do really like that, and that's a rare thing for the PS5. Yeah.
I can't tell the damn. I play mostly retro games, you know this, so I'm like, it looks fine to me.
You and me both. I'm playing Radiant Historia right now on a DS.
Game. Yeah. That is a good damn game that people do not know about.
Yep.
That's another. I played it on a tablet at one of my old jobs.
Nice.
Great freaking game.
Yeah.
So. And for those wondering, no, it is not on tablet, but it is when you have a DS emulator. What? I played that game once and beat it all the way through. But okay, now Spider-Man 2 it looks cool. What do you think about them adding the symbiote suit?
I think that was really fun. I won't lie. If you've played Miles Morales?
I played Miles, yeah.
Okay, I liked Miles more as a character gameplay-wise. I think the electric powers did a lot more. He just had a wider range, whereas Peter was very, one enemy-oriented. I think the symbiote suits solved that in 2. I think that Peter is on the same level. I will say one of the weird parts of the game, you do get, robot spider arms, a la the Infinity War Spider-Man suit from Iron Man. And in the game, it doesn't exactly make sense because Iron Man's not in there and Peter is also extremely poor. But they do replicate, or they do replace that then with the symbiote powers, and it works a lot better.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I get where you're coming from. I mean, you also had Superior Spider-Man, or I think where Doc Ock takes him over and Doc Ock builds, tentacles instead. But I think these are more just like the movie, right? Like you were saying?
Yeah, they're more like robotic spider arms that help you out. And again, it makes sense in some realms of Spider-Man, which there are literally thousands of them. But in this one, Peter is supposed to be more of a poor student again. So it's like, dude, where do you get the cash? You can't pay your mortgage off, but you can make spider robot arms.
Is it very much like the Spider-Man movie story where he's just dodging the guy to pay rent?
Pretty much, yeah. Living with MJ and all that kind of stuff. I don't like that. So, yeah.
I get it, but I haven't watched those movies in years, but I'm sure when I go back to watch Spider-Man 2, it's going to irritate me. I don't know. I don't I get it, why he has to be poor because he can't hold a job because he's too busy saving the world, but it's just still
exactly.
I just don't like it.
Yeah, I really think they did a good job with the characters and the story. I mean, you can take Spider-Man in almost any direction you want these days with the multiverse, but they do a good job of kind of keeping everything together. You still get J. Jonah Jameson in there and, fantastic radio kind of stuff. The background's great. The side characters are great. I'll actually say one of the more impressive things. So there's a side quest with Black Cat. And you actually go through teleporters in real time throughout the city with, again, no loading screens. One of the coolest technical things I've seen in the PS5 this year.
Okay. It does have my attention. Mm-hmm. PS5 does look cool. And this feels very much like a next-gen game.
Exactly. That's really what I'd say about it. And that's why I put it over the other ones. I mean, there's a lot of games out there this year with better stories or a little better gameplay, but this is one that I just sat back and it's this is just technically impressive.
Are you a Spider-Man fan in general?
In general, yeah, I am. I would say I am.
That helps too.
Definitely does. Yeah.
Okay. I actually know very, very little about Spider-Man 2. For what's in this game, I've been mostly unspoiled so far. I mean, I knew Craven was in it. I know Venom's in it because obviously,
yeah.
But I really don't know much about it.
Otherwise, it's really you get Miles and Peter together, which is cool. It goes into more of a story with Peter and Harry, and they have a really good relationship. I think it works very well. And yeah, the characters just kind of feel alive and vibrant. They're not static. They really interact well. The side characters, the story's just good. It really is. It feels like they put some time into it and they made a really good single player game.
I'm excited to eventually play it, and I know there'll be DLC. I still got to play the freaking DLC versus the first Spider-Man game. Someday I'll put it on the podcast and I'll get around to actually replaying that game. But
there you go. That's one way to get things off the list, right?
Well, I'm not going to do it otherwise. I mean, Chained Echo was the only reason why it was put on the podcast. I'm like, I need to play this finally. So there we go. All right. I'm excited to. I'm looking forward to. Because the last superhero game I played was Gotham Knights, which doesn't feel next gen, even though it was next gen. But
I really liked the Arkham games, but I didn't do anything after City.
Knights, our Origins and Knights are both very, very good. I will defend both of those.
Nice. Huh.
I love Arkham Knight. I hated it when I first played it, and I freaking loved it when I played it for the podcast a couple of years ago. Or a year and a half ago, whenever it was.
Yeah, and I do feel like both games are somewhat similar combat-wise, which really, that drives it for me, too. It's just fun fighting in those sort of games. It really flows well together.
Well, how are the Mary Jane missions in this one? The stealth stuff? I know they brought those back.
Okay. MJ turns into John Wick.
Okay.
Just go with it. She gets a stun gun. Like, it's not a big spoiler. She gets a stun gun, but she can take down enemies faster than either Miles or Peter at certain points.
That's fine. They're making it work for gameplay.
You gotta do what you gotta do. It's better than the Spider-Man 1 MJ scenes. I'll say that.
Okay. Barely remember them. I just remember people bitching about them.
It's for the best you don't.
Well, it's good that Craven got it. I'm surprised Craven's the villain they went with. I don't want to know anything else other than that. But I just think it's just funny that, like, yeah, you think of Spider-Man villains, you don't think of Craven being the headliner of a trailer and everything like that. But hey,
yeah, works better than you think. Honestly,
he's getting a movie.
True.
That I'm not excited for
either.
Can't remember who the villain was in Miles Morales.
Rhino.
Rhino's in the beginning, but I thought there was I can't even remember who.
Mr. Negative.
That's the first one.
Was it?
Yeah, Mission Egg is the first one, and the Sinister Six, their version of it, but I can't remember what you do in Miles. Remember who your main... God, it's been a bit. Oh, well, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. I just all of a sudden I can't remember. I beat that game last year when I got it for Christmas. I beat it in like 2 days. Yeah. So, all right, and you had some honorable mentions you wanted to bring up too, right?
Yeah, a couple other ones. So played a lot of good games this year. You're kind of playing a similar one at least. I'd say Tears of the Kingdom would be my first one, Zelda.
Okay.
I may have picked that, but it's been a little bit since I played it. And it was definitely fun at the time, but I think it was almost a little bit too much. So I left that one on the back end there.
I can see that. I've seen how massive that game is from just reviews and heard people.
Because, yeah, you're playing Breath of the Wild right now, right?
Yeah.
Double the size.
But I'm
literally double the size.
No, thank you.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, I'm getting there. I'm actually nearing the end of it.
Nice. So. No, great game. Don't get me wrong. The building in it is great, but it's quite the experience. Same for my next one. Why I didn't pick it overall. Baldur's Gate 3. I know it swept all the awards. It is a fantastic game. I'm a D&D player, so like it makes sense to me. But at the same time, I think it was a little technically flawed. It's gotten better. It definitely has. But when it first came out, there were some issues with the gameplay, some things that didn't work exactly the right way. And while I do appreciate that they have updated it and made it better, it's hard for me to say Game of the Year is a game that's been updated twice or 3 times before it was streamlined. So left that one out there. And then for the wildcard one, another one that won at least the Game Awards Game of the Year in a way, Sea of Stars. Sea of Stars was really, really, really fun. If you're a JRPG fan and you can kind of get past a little bit more of a slapstick rather than dark storyline, it's great. It also probably has the best mini game I've played all year, which is Wheels. It's kind of choose your warriors battle system based on like Yahtzee and skill points. Super, super fun. Had a great time with that as well. So I'd really say those were my big ones this year. Final Fantasy 16 good as well, but not Game of the Year.
Okay. It actually was for one person earlier on this episode.
I'd believe it. I wouldn't blame them. I had a really fun time with it, but again, it wasn't anything that I haven't seen before, something that was like new or fresh.
I get that. Sea Sea of Stars, I'm just waiting for a sale, and as soon as it goes on sale-ish, I'll pick it up, and then I'll put it on the podcast. Because I do want to play it.
Yeah, it's so good. It reminds me a lot of Chrono Trigger. Mm-hmm. Not that good. Don't get me wrong.
No, I know.
Not that good. But it reminds me of
perfection.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Chrono Trigger guy. I have a fake cartridge to the left of me hanging on my wall. I have perler beads. I have a canvas I made. I fucking love Chrono Trigger.
Great game. Yeah.
Anytime. And our episode 100 is Chrono Trigger, so if you want to hear about that.
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
All right, anything else you want to mention? Everything?
No, I think that covers it. Again, glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me back. And hopefully I'll be on some more down the road.
RPGs, I got a few coming. I haven't announced on here, but I have a few coming in the future. All right, and thank you, Kyle, and stay tuned for the next one. Hi, who's with me?
Hi, I'm Dan Mellman. And as usual, I don't have anything to plug.
No problem. And welcome back. And as I've said a few times at this point, what is your game of the year for 2023?
My game of the year for 2023 is Dodonpachi Daiojo Rine Tensei, or Dodonpachi Blissful Death Reincarnation.
I have no idea what this is.
So this is it is a port of a 2002 game.
Okay.
But it is the best port of a video game I've ever seen. Or it's really like in that upper echelon.
So this Oh, I found it. Dodonpachi Blissful Death Reincarnation.
Mm-hmm. This just came out. Talking 2-3 weeks ago. I already have 8 hours in it. I played Daiojo a lot over the years, but this is kind of unlocking it for me.
What systems is this on?
So it was an arcade game. It got a port to the PS2 and a port to the Xbox 360, which apparently was a very bad port. So it was kind of hard to play this game for a while. And there are versions in this that never showed up. And this is done by M2. It was ported by M2. And they have kind of an initiative going on called M2 Shot Triggers, where they just take shooter shmups and give them these absolutely lavish updates. Just everything you could want. Tons of new modes. Really good practice modes. I'll go over them one by one when I talk about why I think this game's so brilliant.
Okay, I found it on YouTube. So it's a shoot 'em up. Which I don't play many of. I can't.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot, and the thing with shoot 'em ups is so you've said many times you're a video game tourist.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's not a bad thing. That's not an unusual thing, but it just doesn't work for this genre.
No.
I have a lot of fondness for maybe 10 years ago whenever a shmup was being reviewed by a Western publication. It's usually this game's 20 minutes long. It's not worth it.
That's just not. I hate stuff like that where you have the wrong person reviewing it that doesn't appreciate what it is. I think shoot 'em ups are cool, but they're not my type of games. I don't go near them.
Yeah, and I also understand if you have to review a game and it's hey, finish this and get to the rest of your work. That's what you're going to do.
Yeah, but you shouldn't put that in your review, to complain about it.
Sure, and things have definitely got better. This has been getting glowing reviews, import reviews. This I should mention does not have a US release and doesn't look like it's going to get one.
No, I mean that makes. I don't shoot 'em ups are a bigger genre here than they once were, especially. But I think it's still probably pretty niche. I'm assuming.
Yeah, they're getting pretty big on PC, which is nice. There's a lot of good indie stuff. A lot of other games by Cave, who made this game, are on Steam. I played Mushihime-sama on Steam. Love that game. But yeah, for a console only port, I don't think they're going to bring it over. They brought over a couple of them, but
at least you're still able to buy it and you're still able to play it. I mean, you probably don't need to read, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so this actually has the English version of the game, which I don't think was ever released. I think it was location tested. They made 100 of them.
Okay.
But it's here. So if you want to see what happens in the endings, if you can get to them,
Did you just
pretty impressive.
Were you able to buy it digitally then, in the Japanese store?
Yep. I have a Japanese account. I bought the Switch version.
Okay.
Yeah, just bought a gift card on PlayAsia, and it's easy enough. I did it for Esprit Psy, which is another one from this developer and this porting team. But so back to those reviews, though, I think there's something else going on there than just, bad journalism. It is bad journalism, but these games take effort to get into.
Yes.
Like, it takes effort and discipline. It's the kind of thing you need to force yourself to really play with any friction. You can see the sights and put it down, and I think probably most people do that. And what I appreciate about this port is it presents everything in ways that make it really easy to kind of figure out what the game's about. So I kind of want to talk. I've been talking all about the port, and there's a lot more to say, but maybe I should just do an intro for what the game is.
Sure, no, please do. I mean, I'm watching a video of it, but yeah, other people would, you picked a game that most people have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah, I do love the look of it. So you get some of that. But so this is the third or fourth Donpachi game, depending on who you ask. But it's a shooter series. There are bees. There are anime girls starting with this one. There's ridiculously precise scoring. There's a lot of bullets. This is kind of one of the most iconic bullet hell series, or bullet curtain, as they call them in Japan.
Oh. More sense than bullet hell.
Yeah,
I do like bullet hell, though.
I mean, bullet hell's a fun idea, but like, I don't know, they're pretty. Like, I like how bullet curtain kind of separate, kind of highlights that. It's like, no, there's this curtain coming down of these beautiful, deadly lights.
You have to not get hit by them.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't it more like you're not watching are you just watching your plane? Is that kind of how people play these?
So I kind of want to go over some stuff I wrote down about the third level. That's the one I'm working on now.
Okay.
So about halfway through the third level, this is like halfway through the game. The game is 5 stages long. There's a mini boss, which is a little like metal crab. It's a crab tank. And it has 2 arms and kind of like vomits bombs at you. And the bombs will block your shots if you're trying to destroy the main part. Like the bombs take damage and, your laser's not going to go through, while the arms shoot this sort of curtain of bullets at you, and they overlap. So like you go to it the first time, your ship's at the bottom of the screen. The left arm shoots a curtain of bullets at you. The right arm shoots a curtain of bullets at you. They overlap. It's hard to dodge. You can do it. And in fact, the boss of the level has some similar patterns to that it's sort of evoking. But after doing it for a few times, this was my like solution to the fight. I went right up to the boss, because you do double damage with your laser if the kind of muzzle flash of the laser is hitting an enemy. And that muzzle flash is enough to destroy the bombs and, do a good chunk of the health. And when the arms are about to shoot the curtain, there's a little telegraph. The hatch opens, so you have time to fly to the bottom after doing this damage and kind of make the pattern a lot safer. And once it gets to like a quarter health, there's another bullet curtain. It's a lot faster. And if you're able to do enough damage, you only need to survive in that for like a couple seconds. And every part of the boss feels designed to teach you how to do that. Like, the telegraph, after you've done it a few times, wait, I think these kind of fans of bullets are aimed at me. Oh, I'm not actually doing damage to the part of the boss I have to do damage to. I need to find a way to deal with these bombs. It's like this really complicated little puzzle. And then once you're playing for score, if you're really good at the game, destroying the arms give you 1,000 points. So if you're able to destroy the arms, you get that last pattern faster. And it's a much more dangerous fight, but if you're going for score, yeah, that's what you're after. And, it's good action game design, but this is 8 seconds. This is 8 seconds of this game. Like, this game is unbelievably dense. Every moment has so many things to consider and discover and experiment with. So having this version, which has save states, it has a practice mode that kind of chops up.
Nice.
It chops up the game into like 50 different segments. And
I appreciate when you have a port of something that you do other things to make it more accessible for people.
Yeah, and save states and these kinds of practice modes are pretty common in the West, but in Japan, a lot of people are still playing in arcade. So it's really nice to see it in a Japanese port. And the practice mode ranks you. Like, if you're able to, first you could adjust the difficulty for each section. And if you're able to do it without dying on that highest difficulty, you get a little gold star, and it tracks what you've gotten golds for. And if you do get hit, it just rewinds the game like 3 seconds, and then, kind of sets a save state that it'll go back to if you die. And if you're able to survive for 5 seconds, it keeps going and keeps recording. It's just like taking you by the hand and going like, no, this is what happened. Figure this out and find a way around this.
I assume it's one-hit kills, or?
Yep.
Okay.
You have normal bombs, which destroy all bullets, just like you do in most shooters. So you kind of want to bomb if you think a bullet's going to hit you. The more you know about a game, the more you can tell, like, oh, I'm out of position for this pattern. Oh, these enemies are going to shoot me in a way I can't easily get around. But Diojo's big gimmick is something called the Hyper, which is these other collectibles you get that also destroys bullets when you use them.
Okay.
But you do a lot more damage. You do about 3 times as much damage. It doubles the speed of all the bullets, and it makes the game just harder after you do it. It raises the difficulty level permanently for the rest of the game every time you use one. But of course, you're getting a lot more points, and you didn't die with those bullets when they were shot. So there's this really interesting back and forth of like, oh, I can kill enemies so much more quickly. Oh, but the bullets are coming much faster. Oh, but my combo's so high and I'm getting so many points and I can, live to fight another day. Oh, but the next boss is going to shoot more bullets at me. Like, it's so fascinating.
Also, I'm watching something where it mentioned that if you have more lives in stock, the bullets are also faster.
Is that true?
Yes.
So I guess that brings me to another thing I really like about this port, and all the M2 Shot Triggers ports have them. It's called gadgets, where they have extra HUD elements on where the black bars would be. So, I'm playing this game on a widescreen TV. It is made to be played on a vertical monitor, so there's a lot of empty space. And they have all these extra things that show like, okay, here's your rank. That's the difficulty. Oh, so you can see, especially if you're playing a replay. Oh, I just used a hyper. That makes the bullets go faster. Oh, I just got another life. That's making the bullets go faster. If you bomb out of a hyper, it goes down. I didn't know that. It's like there's one showing when you're close enough for that muzzle flash double damage attack to hit. It shows you where all the hidden items are. That's a big thing with the Dodonpachi games. While you're getting these combos up, and in order to get to the true final boss, you need to collect a bunch of hidden items throughout the game, and that kind of acts as a guide for, okay, how would you solve this pattern or kill these enemies safely from this position, because you need to go here at some point, at this point on the screen. And it just goes back to that theme of this part of taking this really complicated, really dense, really difficult game and making it as easy as possible to appreciate. It's just absolutely brilliant.
Oh, look, it sounds very cool, and it looks cool, too, from what I've seen. Have you tried getting have you ever got that, there's like a stand or something for the Switch where you can hold it vertical for
I do.
bucks?
I've been the flip grip. That's how I've been playing it a lot. I've been playing some on my TV, but God, for a bathroom break, just like learning a boss completely focused, you wouldn't think it would work, but it works great.
All right.
It's just absolutely gripping.
And do you have any honorable mentions you want to mention that you want to bring up?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I have a few. First, I considered saying this was my game of the year, also a port of an old game, Romancing Saga Minstrel Song. That came out in December of last year.
Okay.
Which is a port of a PS2 remake of a Super Nintendo game. But
I know the series, but I've never touched it.
It's very weird. It's open world. You can select 8 different protagonists at the start, and they all have, different properties and different quests and stuff. There's no leveling. You get abilities randomly whenever you attack, and there's a higher chance the more outmatched you are, so you're always going against the toughest enemies you think you can survive. There's permadeath, because all your party members have lives, and if it reaches 0, they're gone forever. That game's fascinating. It's not like much else I played, and there's a new saga coming next year, early next year.
Okay.
And this is the best one, I think, and such an amazing PC version, too. I've been running it in a 4K borderless window. It just reads my monitor and does that. And of course, Void Stranger, which I told you a bit ago was my game of the year. That's I kind of got less into it over time. The middle part kind of dragged, but
Oh yeah, remember us talking about that a few months ago.
yeah, still a really cool game. Kind of a Game Boy puzzle game with these really complicated meta puzzles that sort of remind me of Myst. And Street Fighter 6, which, it's a sequel. It's doing the Street Fighter 2 thing, but I finally got that experience of like playing a Street Fighter on launch and everyone's super into it and seeing how things changed over time. I play DJ. I just could not put that game down. I just saw the Steam just had a year-end review thing, and I think I put like 30 hours into it in the month it came out.
You're having fun. You're having fun. I like the lower Street Fighter, but I haven't touched any of them since
the lore
4. Yeah, I actually enjoy the lore.
I have never heard somebody say that. I mean, good on you, but I have literally never heard that before.
Yeah, I watched there's a YouTube guy, Top Hat Gaming, that does a bunch of videos about the story and stuff, and I just watch those.
Okay. Street Fighter 6 has a really cool story mode where you're
get to it
around a city.
Someday. I'm actually doing Street Fighter 2 on this podcast later next year just because I felt like I should.
Ooh, could I be on that one?
Yep,
I love Street Fighter 2. Thank you. So yeah, again, that's Dodonpachi Daiojo Reina Tensei for the Nintendo Switch and PS4. Wild game. So glad.
That.
Yeah, I mean, it just came out, and I love this game, and I feel like I'm really playing it in a way I haven't got to.
All right. Well, and thank you, Dan, for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Mike. This is always a good time.
And stay tuned for the next one. Hi, and who's with me?
Hi, I'm Trey from Nintendo Main Podcast. What's up?
Welcome. And what is your game of the year for 2023?
Well, man.
I think I know, but I'm...
All right, so 2023 was a huge year for Nintendo, obviously. There was a ton of Nintendo releases this year. And, what we normally do on our show is whenever there's like a big game that's coming out that's pretty much unanimously everybody's game of the year, we kind of like take it out of our... We like take it out of our list, so.
Okay.
So whenever we did it when the Switch launched. We did, we took like Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey out of there because that was like everybody's favorite game of the year, and every other podcast is going to talk about that, So we were like, we'll just say that those are our favorite games, and we'll just do a top 10 aside from that. So that's normally what we do. I mean, obviously, Tears of the Kingdom is everybody's favorite game of the year. So
actually, I've interviewed like 10 people so far. Not a single person has said Tears of the Kingdom. So.
Well, it depends. I mean, it depends on. I was like most Nintendo podcasts.
Yes.
Like it's the game. I'm sure they were talking about their Baldur's Gates or Alan Wakes or whatever else is out there.
Yeah.
Or
both of those have been mentioned.
Or Spider-Man's or different things.
Also mentioned.
So yeah, whatever. Nintendo fans will say Tears of the Kingdom, but I mean, I don't know. We're not going to talk about that on our show because that's what everybody else is saying. So, and also, honestly, I haven't played Tears of the Kingdom in months. Like I played it for like. I don't know, like 150 hours or something like that, and then I just kind of got bored with it, and then just
that's too much.
It's a long ass game. Jeremy played it for like 300 hours, so I mean, it's it's dumb. Like according to my whatever, according to they sent out the Nintendo stats and all that stuff, like most played games. So my top 3 was obviously my top 1 was Tears of the Kingdom, but my top 2 and 3 were. AEW Fight Forever and Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Future Redeemed. So those are like probably my top 2 games, I guess, of the year.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I haven't fully decided. I mean, when is this going to post? This is going to be like
early January.
In a couple weeks, right? Like in January. Okay. Because we haven't done our official Game of the Year episode yet. We're not going to do that till January. Like,
well, you shouldn't have a Game of the Year thing, in my opinion, till January, unless you're just going to say it's a Game of the Year thing and really just be a big commercial. Then I guess it's okay.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people do their Game of the Year stuff at the end of the year, like in December or whatever, and I felt the same way. I was like, we'll do our Game of the Year episode when it's January, when the year is actually officially over, and then we'll talk about it. So I haven't really. I mean, I kind of have my list together, but I haven't I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but probably I'll probably put AEW Fight Forever up there, just because I played a lot of it. I met a lot of people through Discord for that game, which I would not have met outside of it. And I met a lot of wrestling fans and stuff like that. So,
and I've heard you talk a lot about it too. So I know you like it.
Sure. And I'm sure that I know our listeners are probably annoyed with me talking about AEW. All that.
So are you you're a fan of AEW wrestling in general, I assume, right?
Yeah, I was a big fan of wrestling when I was younger. I had my phases. So like when I was in grade school, I watched WWF. I liked like Million Dollar Man, Ted DiBiase, and Ultimate Warrior, and all those people, and like the Big Boss Man, and all that shit from the '80s. And then I found out that wrestling was fake. So I was like, oh, wrestling is fake. I'm not gonna watch this anymore. And then I started watching it again in high school, where like all of my favorite wrestlers were now in WCW. So I watched WCW in the '90s. When it was like Hollywood Hulk Hogan and like Sting and all those people. Yeah. And like, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall and the NWO and all that fun stuff. So I was really big into it in high school through college. And I even I had a friend of a friend in college who bought like an official like ring, like wrestling ring. And we would do wrestling shows on Saturday nights. It was called MWA. It was called the Midwest Wrestling Association was our federation. And we would do free shows in this like storefront in this outdoor mall and they rented it all out and they had a full ring and all that in there. So I did a couple matches until I hurt myself doing it. And then after that I kind of stopped watching wrestling because it was kind of depressing to me. And there was a whole bunch of other shit that happened. There was the whole Chris Benoit thing where he killed his family and killed himself, which he was one of my favorite wrestlers, so that was a big bummer. And Vince McMahon bought all the federations and destroyed them pretty much. So, so I was
a good person.
I was kind of done with it. And I hated Vince McMahon and WWE and all that shit. So AEW was the whole, brought me back to wrestling because I had just given up, stopped watching it for like 20 some years. So, and then I had heard, I think I'd heard Henry Gilbert talk about it on one of the Talking Simpsons podcasts or something like that there was a new wrestling federation coming out. And I was like, oh, let's check that out. And then I started watching it on YouTube and then I fell into it and started going to all the live shows and the pay-per-views and all that stuff. So yeah, so the game was a pretty big deal to finally have some of these characters that have never been represented before in any other way, like in the video game world, like Orange Cassidy and a lot of the newer AEW characters have never been in other games.
Who's the guy with the white mask? Dashin or something?
The white mask? What do you mean?
Oh, he's a wrestler, but he has like a white face paint. I shouldn't say mask, white face paint. And
Sting?
No, not Sting, but it starts with a D.
Oh yeah, I don't know who's in AEW. Like the only
he was a DLC character you guys were talking about.
Oh, Dan Housen.
Yes. The only reason I know him, I don't know anything about AEW, but I'm friends with people on Facebook, a comic artist that I know from around here, and he met him and posted pictures with him and met him multiple times.
Yeah, he's pretty. He does a lot of internet stuff, and I know his merchandise is really popular. That they sell a lot of it. He was actually on the. Speaking of Talking Simpsons, he was also on that show as well. Dan Housen was on one of the episodes, so I was like, oh, that's cool. They got a wrestler on there. But yeah, Dan Housen. As far as I know, he hasn't made an appearance in any video game other than this. So
he's like the only wrestler I know from AEW, so that's why.
Yeah, so there were a lot of people that I hadn't seen yet in video games. So and they were trying to, of course, they were trying to like mimic the original the Nintendo 64 wrestling games, which are considered by many to be the best wrestling games of all time. You should do a if you ever want to do any of those games, I'd totally be down because I have them. I don't know if you ever played like WCW NWO Revenge or like WrestleMania 2000 or any of those.
I played No Mercy.
Okay, so you played the last one, which is
No Mercy, and I think it was Attitude.
Okay, yeah, No Mercy was that was the last.
That's the one that like everybody loves.
They made that's the one. I think I don't know. I think I like the WCW one and WrestleMania 2000 a little bit better. But I mean, it probably just because I knew less of the characters when it got to No Mercy, because I wasn't really following WWE at the time.
I had friends that were really big into the Attitude Era of wrestling.
People were.
So, I mean, I wasn't a fan of the game, but it was something that they would want to play. So it was multiplayer, so we'd play sometimes. But no, I've never been into wrestling.
It has it had a really cool grapple system, like this whole light grapple, hard grapple, and then you can do the same thing in AEW Fight Forever. And I believe the same director of those games actually worked on this game as well. Like Kenny Omega tracked him down in Japan and was like, "Hey, make this game," or whatever. However he got a hold of him, he got him on the game. So
because you were waiting for years for this game, weren't you? I remember you mentioned on your podcast for a while.
Oh yeah, we've been waiting for it since it got announced. I think it got. I don't know when AEW started in 2019, so I mean, obviously they were going to make a game, but I think they could have announced it even as early as like 2020, and it was a lot of
the
people.
world ended.
A lot of people are waiting for it because, like I said, no video game representation of AEW really. There was like a couple mobile games, but nothing like not like a full on wrestling game and all that. So it was a big deal to all the fans, and there's still kind of some controversy because there's all the expensive DLC that they're doing and all that, which is kind of annoying. But I still think the base game in itself is still fun.
I mean, the DLC, that's just kind of right now the world we're in for gaming, where they're like, how can we milk you afterwards?
Yeah, and they're doing it pretty badly because I bought like the Ultimate Edition when it came out, which was like $10 extra. I was like, no big deal. I bought it for $70. I was like, cool, I'll get a whole season. And I guess the season pass only consisted of like 6 wrestlers, and now there's a season 2 that will be on sale for Switch someday, I believe. I don't know. It's supposed to come out like next week. But yeah, it's kind of like, it's like, all right, well, here's season 2 for another $30. And then they're like, oh yeah.
30. Okay.
It's like, we're going to do a season 3 too. And I'm like, wait, hold on. Like what, most of us thought the season 1 would last through the whole year, and it didn't, and it only lasted for a few months. So that's like a lot of what people are mad about.
I mean, I get it. As a guy who unfortunately spends $10 every month on Marvel Snap for every season, can't say a whole lot because my dumbass is like on board with them. So, but I get it.
Yeah, I think season 2 is like $25, but still, that's a stupid price for when you already paid however much. And there's like an Ultimate Edition that you can buy for like $90, which has like both seasons on it. And I was just like, that's just silly. That doesn't really seem like they're milking the fans, and people aren't happy about that, which I understand.
So I get it completely. I'd be pissed too if I cared, or if I played things that were new, but I don't know what that's like.
Yeah, I mean, you still, whatever. You got your system going there. Where you.
I love playing old stuff. That's just who I am.
I do too.
I'm playing Breath of the Wild. Currently.
Yeah, there you go. Finally getting around to that. You should buy the Labo VR and play it in VR.
Oh, thank you. I couldn't. I have a Switch Lite.
Okay. Oh yeah, I guess
it'd be a little harder.
I guess you couldn't do it. Maybe you could. I don't know. I played it in VR. It was, it's whatever. It's $40 VR. Like it's what you expect from that. It was fun enough for what it was.
Still around?
The Labo VR. I don't know. I haven't seen it. I mean,
I don't think you can buy them anymore. I haven't seen them in a while, but I haven't looked either. But I didn't see them at like Targets or Walmart or anything. But that don't mean much.
Yeah, they kind of phased out that pretty quickly.
Nintendo for you sometimes.
But yeah, we did, we even kind of started like a weekly stream thing where we play AEW Fight Forever and talk about wrestling and all that stuff. So it became a thing that we post on YouTube.
Mention that. I was happy for you. I'm glad that you are loving this game so much. Yeah. I won't listen to anything talk about wrestling, but I'm glad that you're doing it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's there. It's a game. We played a lot of it. I put almost 100 hours into it. But also the other thing I want to mention is because I don't think anybody actually mentions it is the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 DLC that came out this year, the Future Redeemed, which was really, really good. And I haven't heard anybody mention it really. Maybe it is too aged or whatever. But they had a DLC that came out. I think it was like $30 or something like that. But their DLCs are pretty hefty. Like there's like extra characters that you can get for the regular game, and there's a whole nother story added onto it that's completely different that has like whole new cast of characters. It was supposed to bring all 3 of the Xenoblade Chronicles games together, like as one thing. So you see like an older version of Rex from the second one, and I think like Shulk's kids in there, and yeah, you see different characters from the different games, and it has like a crazy ending that references Xenogears and Xenosaga and Xenoblade Chronicles X, and everybody's like, what the fuck? Because they said, there's this really weird part where you like go to this house and there's like a radio that's playing a station that talks about stuff from Xenosaga and all that. And
that's cool.
I totally made all the fans, I think I said it. I
don't think they own the rights to the other stuff though.
I don't know if they do, but they made it. So they can reference it. Yeah, I would love to see, I don't know how, because what was it, because Xenogears is owned by Square Enix still, right? The first one?
Should be. I mean, it was published by them back in the day, and then Xenosaga was published by Namco.
Yeah. Well, I thought that there might be a chance that we would see a re-release of Xenosaga on Switch. I mean, just because Nintendo's pretty buddy-buddy with Namco. I mean, that wouldn't make
people happy, because those games were only released for PS2, and they're not cheap.
Yeah, I bought the first one, actually, after I beat the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Future Redeemed. I went out and bought Xenosaga again, which that was one of the first PlayStation 2 games that I ever bought, and I didn't like it when I first played it, and I returned it.
Bought it the day it came out, and was so upset. Never finished it, only got a few hours in, and I'm going to do it. 2025 is my goal to start that series.
Okay, well, I have it if you want me to try to get through it. No, I thought I'd give it another try just because I like the Xenoblade Chronicles game so much that I was like, oh, well, maybe I can try this one.
If you haven't touched it by the time we get 2025, you're welcome to join us.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really played it since I got it. I'm not even really sure where it is since I moved, and who knows where it is by now.
I know how that goes.
Hopefully it's with the rest of my PS2 games, but I haven't looked. So, yeah.
All right, and you have any other honorable mentions that you want to bring up?
Yeah, sure. Has anybody said anything about Dredge? About the little indie game called Dredge?
No, I don't even know what this is.
So Dredge is basically it's like a fishing game meets like Lovecraft horror type stuff. Like you're in a little boat going around and there's kind of like a little fishing mini game that you do to find these fish, but you can find like mutated ones that are like more messed up. And the idea is like you can only fish in the daytime because when you're out at night, like you start seeing shit. You start seeing like ghosts and stuff around like that. Whether they're there or not, who knows? And your brain will kind of start to fuck with you, and you have to go to sleep at a certain time. Otherwise you might get attacked by these ghosts in the water and stuff like that. And you catch these fish and you sell them and you make enough money to like upgrade your boat so you can last longer at night. Like give yourself more of headlights and make it bigger so you can carry more fish and stuff like that. And yeah, that was a really good game. I played through that right before Tears of the Kingdom came out, and I was really impressed with it. And it had a DLC too that just came out with more story stuff, and that was only $5. So there you go.
Not 30.
That's a nice $5 for a full like extra 10-hour story mode or something like that. I haven't tried it yet, but it's like in an ice area where everything's frozen. So
it looks interesting. It's actually on my wish list at some point. Somebody must have mentioned it or some reason it ended up on my wish list, but I'll have to check it out at some point now.
Yeah, Dredge was a really, really good one. That was probably my favorite indie of the year. I actually had a lot more fun with Sonic Superstars than I thought I would too. I'm sure you've heard me talk about that a lot on the show to upset Jeremy and John, but no, I thought it was a great game, and I spent a lot more time with Superstars than I did Mario Wonder. So there you go.
Okay, that's
kind of barely touched Mario Wonder. I guess we played a little bit of multiplayer.
You were talking about it with you're playing with Jess at one point.
Yeah, but it's kind of, I don't know. It seemed like kind of a letdown. It wasn't, in the end. It wasn't. I don't know. It didn't have quite what I wanted. I thought all the bosses were kind of simple and easy, and some of them aren't even there. Like sometimes you get to the end of a level and they just give you a Wonder Seed and there's not even a boss. And I'm like, what's happening here? Like I understand maybe they want to go away from the Koopalings, but at least that was more interesting than whatever happening in this game. It's like half the worlds don't even have bosses. Like it's like what the fuck,
That's
man?
Kind of weird. I haven't played a Mario game in a while, so
yeah. I mean, it's it's got some cool effects to it and all that, but it's still kind of, I don't know. It didn't hit as high as I thought it would.
I can say my 16-year-old son loves it. I can say that.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Oh, a big one, huge one for me. I guess I don't normally mention these just because they're re-releases, but the Metroid Prime remastered game.
Oh yeah.
It was that's one of my favorite games of all time. So I mean, I was really happy to see it re-released.
Great game.
And it was done really, really well, and you could finally play it with dual stick aiming and all that, which you could never do before.
You could have for a while. You just had to get it on PC.
Well, I mean, yeah.
I
know. Legally, you could play it.
Yeah, you just ripped the GameCube copy, of course. I mean, come on now.
But I mean, it looked really good. Like they redid all the graphics and all the polygons and all that, and it looked like a modern game. It
looks cool.
But it's still, and I played it to 100% completion, which I had never done before. So I got to see that nice little ending. There's like an extra 30-second scene at the end if you get 100% that kind of shows like the beginning of Dark Samus and all that stuff.
That's what YouTube is for.
Yeah, but I mean, I want to do it on my own.
All right.
I'd rather find it on my own.
Well, thank you for joining me, Trey.
No problem.
And where can people find you at, real quick?
We do a weekly show called Nintendo Main Podcast. Just Google that. You'll find it all over the place. You can find it in whatever podcast app that you use. And also we have a Patreon, patreon.com/Nintendo Main Podcast, where we have a bonus show on there called Expansion Pack, where we talk about, we'll do like our own random top fives of things. Like I think the last one that we did was we talked about what were the big games that made us buy systems that were not Nintendo systems, like that sort of thing. We did like a killer app non-Nintendo episode, which was cool. And you can get those for like $1 a month, and for $5 you get early videos of us recording stuff. And I do a show called WART Radio where I basically take all the music that I use on all of the shows and put it together into a playlist monthly. So if you like all the stuff that's on the intros and outros, you can just listen to it as one like hour and a half mix, which is pretty good. So.
Oh, right. And Thank you, and on to the next one. Hi, who's with me?
My name is Blair Farrell, semi-frequent guest to this show. In case you didn't listen to the episodes I'm on, or just turned them off when you saw my name, I'm the owner and primary content generator for comicbookvideogames.com.
All right, and welcome, Blair. And as I've said a few times now, what is your game of the year for 2023?
Well, I had a toss-up because when I do these, I like to use the opportunity to stretch out of my zone and talk about something not related to superheroes or comic books, and it might spoil something that I'm going to do later on, but I don't care. I'm going to do it anyways, because I think I can use a little love. So if you're on Twitter for some reason still, and are one of the non-porn bots who are one of my followers, you'll probably notice that this year a lot I've talked about DC's Justice League Cosmic Chaos. Which I did not expect to be much of anything. So you can probably tell by the name of my website that I pretty much will buy anything related to a superhero. I know there was a joke in 2022 about how I was one of the most viewed reviews or something of DC's League of Super Pets Adventures of Crypto and Ace, which is from Outright Games. It was the same publisher as Justice League Cosmic Chaos. So going into this game, zero expectations. I expect it to be something I could finish in like 2 hours over a weekend. I did not expect it to be X-Men Legends for babies, and I mean that in the best possible way.
All right.
So yeah, I'm assuming most people are not familiar with this game. So it's Justice League, but it's just the core trinity. So you play Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, and Mr. Mxyzptlk has kind of taken over their hometown of Happy Harbor. So you're fighting a lot of fish monsters. It's not incredibly hard, but what it makes up for in, say, difficulty, it makes up for in charm, because I think this had something to do with like Kevin Conroy passing away last year, where I just went headfirst into loving DC superheroes again.
Yeah.
I think it's just between, like, the Zack Snyder movies have their fans. I actually really love Zack Snyder's Justice League, but it hasn't been what I call my DC for a while. But then we had the James Gunn news, and then when Kevin Conroy, that thing happened, I've already said twice, and it's really sad. I just started watching Batman, the animated series, and then I watched Superman, and then I watched Justice League, and all I want to do is play DC things and be in the DC universe. And then this game comes out and I bring it home and I just was floored. I'm like, this is X-Men Legends. It's a top-down kind of dungeon crawler, brawler thing. And you kind of like, the characters kind of complement one another. So you think like, okay, Superman, why the heck do I need Batman or Wonder Woman? But like Superman has like fire abilities and Batman has like ice gadgets and Wonder Woman has electricity. So certain enemies are more susceptible to one or the other. And I didn't expect the voice cast to be a bunch of really great people. Because when I played Crypto and Ace, it was just sound-alikes. And one guy actually sounded more like Patrick Warburton than Dwayne Johnson. But in this, you have Diedrich Bader doing the voice of Batman, who did Batman on Brave and the Bold. Like Vanessa Marshall is Wonder Woman, who voiced her on Harley Quinn. Probably something else too, but that's the one I know her best from. And Nolan North is Superman from Young Justice. So yeah, you have all this top-tier talent, and then they start spouting lines like from Public Enemies. And I started following one of the writers on Twitter, and he pointed out that he made there's a Watchmen reference on the high school wall. Like, it says who monitors the hall monitors.
Okay, that's
and
cool.
And it's so subtle, and it's great, and all the equipment is related to DC characters. Like, you don't see it on your persons, but it's like Red Hood's helmet and Hawkman's mace and Jay Garrick's helmet and all of these things that just a DC fan would love. And like, when I noticed it, I think there's like Batman talking to Superman, he makes a comment about, you don't have a sense of humor, like you should buy one. And I'm butchering the line, but I'm like, that's from Public Enemies. And then there's like a ton of bonus costumes that you unlock, spoilers, by actually playing the game. Like, you just buy them with currency.
So what you're telling me is this game was made before they were bought by Discovery then, right?
Well, I mean, this isn't... I think I don't even know how this all worked out, because it's like Outright Games, who must have just got the license from them to make this Justice League game.
Yeah, but I mean, the joke is, had Discovery been involved, everything would have been DLC, microtransactions.
Yeah,
That's
well, I
Discovery's
mean,
crap.
Not just then, it's pretty much everywhere now.
Oh yeah, no, it is. I really don't like Discovery Warner Brothers, so.
I mean, who does?
I know one guy. The guy's in charge of the company. He likes it. I think that's about it.
Yeah.
But no, the game looks super cool. I mean, I remember you talking about it at some point when it came out, and I forgot about it. But I'm watching a review of it right now. By the way, there's not many reviews even on YouTube of this game.
I know. I think Victor Lucas did one from Electric Playground. I think he was in at 7.5, which is about where I would put it. I can see why a lot of people would kind of ignore it. I mean, it's not terribly difficult, and I know the art style is a little off-putting. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. And honestly, if they made like a cartoon like for kids using that style, I would probably tune in. I do wish you got to use more of the Justice League.
Yeah.
Because kind of the plot is like the town is kind of also taken over by Starro, or Mr. Mitchell uses Starro to kind of take over the Justice League. So I guess that's a common theme now, is that in these Justice League games, you don't get to play as them. So you save them, like you save Green Lantern and Cyborg and Flash. And Flash is voiced by Josh Keaton. It's really great. I can't remember who voices Cyborg, but I know it's like really famous or a recognizable talent. Oh, it's the voice of Kratos. That's who voices Jon Stewart. The original voice of Kratos. T.C. Carson, I think his name is.
Okay.
And you can use them to summon. You can summon them in for little attacks, but that's really about it. And kind of like, yeah. And what's interesting is that you can go back to the Hall of Justice. And what I really love about the X-Men Legends games is that you go and kind of talk to these characters and you learn something if you don't know them. As I know, like growing up, I mean, I run a website based on comic book games, but I didn't read a lot of comics because I couldn't access them.
Yeah.
I didn't live near a comic book store, so I got a lot from video games. And X-Men Legends and Marvel Ultimate Alliance, they have this kind of hub world you can explore and talk to people. And you'll run up to them and say, hey, who are you? I'm Bruce Banner. What's your deal? I turn to the Hulk. And this also has that. And I even learned something about Jon Stewart, because I've kind of been out of DC Comics for a while, where he mentions that he's merged with his ring, so he doesn't even need it anymore.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
Because I've kind of been out for a while, and I don't know when this happens. But it's really fun. It's really simple. They had all these companies now are putting out these rundowns of what was the game you spent the most time playing this year. My Xbox game was actually this one. I wasn't surprised. I mean, this year, I know a lot of people have been talking about it's the best year for games, except if you make them, which is the worst year of your life.
Yeah, no, it's sad when it comes to that.
Yeah, but for me, nothing is really. Hasn't been games that I've been super interested in. So this one, I think it took me like 18 hours, and I may have gotten everything. And that's even there's a great trophy. You have to get on a skateboard as Superman, which if you play Tony Hawk 2, you get the joke.
Okay. I have not ever played Tony Hawk 2.
Well, I mean, I'm not the big Tony Hawk fan either, but there's a song called Superman by Goldfinger.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so one of the trophies was like getting Superman on a skateboard. I'm like, the people who made this loved making it. I hope they do more. I don't know what's happening now, because I know James Gunn has a lot of power over DC. I think it's a little bit of everything. It's not just TVs, movies. He also has a say in games. And I don't know if this sold particularly well. I see it on discount a lot whenever I stop in a GameStop for a pre-order. But if you haven't tried it for some reason, like superhero games, especially DC, or you just really miss interacting with the DC universe in a video game, because there hasn't been a lot in a while. We're getting a lot of Marvel stuff, and right now we have Suicide Squad in February and Wonder Woman whenever the heck it's done, and we don't really know that much else. But give it a shot. Don't let the art style fool you. It's not something that will test your mettle, as it were.
You know me, I like games nice and easy.
Great Switch game that you can kind of play maybe while you're doing something else. Because I bought it on Xbox. I have the Switch version, but I mostly played it on Series X. I'm assuming it runs fine. There's like lots of hidden dungeons. Like there's one and a quest line that's all about poison ivy, and it's voiced by the same actress as the Arkham series, it's just terrific. I even like talking with this now, it just made me realize how much I love this game, and I don't regret an instant. I know Spider-Man has been the big superhero game this year, and I like Spider-Man well enough, but I also forgot about it. But like, I'm still gushing over this game.
Okay. I did not expect that. When you first signed up for this, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be Spider-Man 2. I'm like, I was positive it was gonna be Spider-Man 2, and then you threw a curveball at me.
No, I liked it well enough, but the thing about Spider-Man 2, I'll just keep it brief, is that kind of the year that Spider-Man came out, I wrote a book about Spider-Man games, so I spent a lot of time swinging around New York City as Spider-Man. So these are all great games, don't get me wrong, made by a lot of talented people. But for me, I always felt they were great, but they just built a better mousetrap.
Yeah, no, I get that.
I'm waiting for the New Game Plus to come out because I really want to re-experience the story without all of the side stuff to see how I feel about it again.
Okay.
I was actually going to talk about another game.
Sure, feel free to mention.
If you'll indulge me, which is RoboCop Rogue City.
Okay, I forgot this even came out.
It is so good. It's what the game industry needs, because I know there's been all these games are taking like what feels like 20 years to come out, and there's a lot of them. But RoboCop Rogue City just feels like a 360 game in the best possible way. Like it's not terribly long. It's not pushing the bleeding edge of graphics, although I think RoboCop looks really great, and he's voiced by Peter Weller. It just feels really good to shoot people. It's a lot of Easter eggs to the RoboCop series. It's not terribly long, which is great because all these games are like a big investment now. I heard a lot of good things coming in. I played this studio that did a Terminator game, which was also a really pleasant surprise.
Yeah, people love that game.
So I really want to see what they do next. A lot of people were thinking Escape from New York, which will be great. Personally, I hope they do Judge Dredd, get Carl Urban to do the voice. If you play RoboCop, you can understand why, because you have the feel of that one gun really, really well.
Okay. I have no fondness for RoboCop. I just remember this game came out. I was like, oh, okay, that's nice. And then that.
Have you done a RoboCop episode for the show?
I did, yes. There's one, but it wasn't my choice. But yes, there's one. The comic, RoboCop vs. Terminator.
Oh, but you haven't done the movie?
No, I haven't done the movie yet.
Oh, get one on a poll, Patreon supporters. RoboCop movies Mike hasn't seen yet, and it's just the first one.
I have seen the first one.
Oh, okay.
I've just never seen anything else since then.
Well, get me and Kenneth Sanity and a few others to RoboCop.
I probably should, though.
Totally should.
Okay. Anything else? Any other games you want to mention quick?
That's it for me, really. I'm just looking at my shelf here. I really like the limited run bought by the Jurassic Park Super Nintendo game. Boy, I wasn't expecting that one to make a comeback.
I need to play that game because I wanted to buy it on Steam, but that collection is not on Steam, unfortunately. So I was like, damn it.
What?
It's only physical stuff. It's not on Steam.
Really? Because I bought it digitally on.
Oh, well, then maybe it's on. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it is not on Steam because I wanted to buy it.
Because I bought it digitally on Switch because I kind of lost a lot of patience with limited run. Because I have a local store that sells limited run stuff, so they'll probably get it before my pre-order. So I was like, why bother? I'll just buy the digital one and I can play it now.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, it's not on Steam for some reason. I wonder if it's a licensing issue or... No, wait, I lied. It is on Steam.
Yay.
Okay, I'm just an idiot. All right. But I had to scroll to find it. Okay, I'll have to buy that because I do want that. And I tend to buy licensed games now when I get the chance to. When I go on, because I know that clock is always ticking. So
for sure. I mean, that's why I bought 2 copies of Justice League back in March. I have it on Switch and Xbox. And then I've been hovering around the PlayStation 5 version because why the heck not? I might as well get the Trinity. Do I need it? No. Will I probably get it if I see it somewhere for $20? Probably.
All right. And thank you for joining me, Blair.
Thank you for having me.
And stay tuned for the next one. Hi, who's with me?
It's your guest of the year, Carrie Chandler, Carusetta on Twitch and YouTube.
Welcome back. And what, as I've said here a few times, what is your game of the year for 2023?
Oh, it's this little indie game you probably never heard of called Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
Hey, you know what? I'm happy to hear about it because no one has picked it yet out of the 13 people I've talked to so far. So
that is
or 11, 12, something like that.
That is unbelievable. That's recency bias.
Hey, so what about Tears of the Kingdom that grabbed you?
Well, I mean, like Breath of the Wild is my favorite video game, like just period. And Tears of the Kingdom was just, hey, you like Breath of the Wild? Here's like 3 times of that. Here's Breath of the Wild, but with like 3 layers now and extra mechanics. Yeah, so it's more. It's one of those things that where if it wasn't a sequel, it would probably be my favorite game. But since it's like a sequel to my favorite game, I'm like, well, I think Breath of the Wild is still probably my favorite game, you know?
Okay.
But yeah, I love it. Like it was like they took Breath of the Wild and it honestly, for the most part, improved upon it. And just, it really just is, I mean, it's just awesome. It's the best.
Because it's the same world as Breath of the Wild, correct? But the underground and then the sky.
Yeah, and there are some changes because it's sort of a sequel, but it's not clear that it's if it's 100% a sequel or not, because, you know, like there's no sign of some of the stuff that happened in the first game, like none of the divine beasts are laying around, for instance.
Oh, because I thought this was like a direct sequel that just took place a little bit afterwards.
It does. It is, but it's kind of like it's a direct sequel, but there's some things that are different to where it could be maybe like a parallel timeline instead. It's really not clear. Like for instance, no one in this world has like apparently ever heard of Ganon, but you just, you know, killed Calamity Ganon at the end of Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
It's things like that. The signs of the Calamity are not there at all. And then, like I said, like the Divine Beast aren't there. But then people that you met in the first game remember you, and things that happened in the first game did happen. So it is definitely a sequel, but it's a sequel where they're like, don't worry about the other stuff.
I don't know how I feel about that.
It's interesting. My son, you know, his like kind of personal theory with it was that they like the Divine Beasts, they like took them apart and used them to build like, because there's lots of advanced machinery that what's her name? The scientist that turned herself into a little girl. I can't remember her name.
I know what you're talking about.
She was at the Hatino lab. So
yeah.
she's an adult in this. She's an adult and like super like curvy, and like they try to make her look like real, like kind of a thirst trap. And I can't remember her name. I haven't played the game in a few months, but she's been just like building like new technology and machinery. She's made like, Pura, that's her name, Pura. She's made her own like version of the Sheikah slate called the Pura pad. And that's what you have because you don't have the Sheikah slate in this one. And that's why you don't have any of your Sheikah powers.
Okay.
So you don't have like the stasis, cryonesis, that stuff in this game. You don't have the bombs. And so it's, you'll get new powers instead based on what's going on in this game. But you have for the other reasons you'd have a Sheikah slate for, which is like taking pictures and like activating towers and stuff.
Yeah.
You have the Pura pad instead. Also, no towers. There's new towers, but the towers that were in the last game, they're all just not there. And also none of the shrines are there. There's new shrines, completely different shrines, and it's a completely different technology.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this. As a guy who just beat Breath of the Wild a day ago, I do not know how I feel about this.
Yeah, I mean it's very cool. It's just it's one of those things where in Zelda games they rarely do like a direct sequel.
Yeah.
And so but even when they do, they don't keep things completely the same, you know?
Yeah,
And
I
so
mean,
yeah,
you have
this
Link to the Past and Link Between Worlds, yeah.
right, like those worlds, they look pretty much the same, but they're really not. Like they're pretty different. And there are direct sequels, but usually when there's a direct sequel, it's in a different location, you know?
Yeah.
So like
Link's Awakening.
Right, Link's Awakening is a direct sequel to Link to the Past, but it's not in the same location at all.
Yeah.
And like Majora's Mask, you know, direct sequel to Ocarina of Time, but it's in a different world. And this one, you're in the same world, but things are just not exactly the same. It's I don't know if it's supposed to be like an alternate timeline or what, but you know, a lot of the stuff is the same. Like the little girl that you like, the princess in the Gerudo Princess, she's still there. Like in Riku.
Okay.
Riku.
Is she older now?
Yeah, she's like a teenager.
Okay.
So she's still not. I don't think she's supposed to be an adult. She seems like she's supposed to be in her teens.
I mean, I'm definitely interested in the game. It's just after
Yeah.
beating Breath of the Wild, it's going to be a bit before I'm ready to dig into this thing because I don't think I could beat this game in a week like I did Breath of the Wild. So
Yeah, but like Sidon's there. Sidon's in charge of the Zoro domain. He's like the king now, and he's married and has like a little kid, and so it's like time has passed. Some time has passed for sure. It feels like it's maybe like 5 years later.
Okay, I was going to say maybe it was 20 years and no one knew what a Jedi was because 20 years had passed. So, you know, same idea. Like Divine Beast? What's
exactly. Yeah, but yeah, all the Divine Beasts are gone. All the shrines are gone. All the towers are gone. But then there's new stuff. There's a whole new, like they've done a whole new, like this one is an origin story for the Breath of the Wild world.
Oh, okay.
Also. So it's pretty interesting because it kind of the plot of it is at the beginning, you and Link and Zelda. Link is just, you know, Zelda's bodyguard, and Zelda has the Sheikah slate and she's doing like archaeology. They've like recently discovered a cavern underneath Hyrule Castle. And so you're going down there and you're discovering all these like old statues and artifacts and stuff. And she's like, oh, this might date back to like the ancient Zonai, you know, who were here before the Hylians. And then you find, you know, Ganon's desiccated corpse down there, and then you accidentally release it, and he ends up like basically Zelda gets sucked into like a portal, and it turns out that she's gone back, you know, thousands of years into the past to the time of the Zonai, who were the people that the Hylians like evolved from, basically.
Okay,
And
it sounds
like,
cool.
They're like llama. They're kind of like llama people.
All right.
They're like furry. They're like, you know, furries with like big llama ears. So then all the technology in this game is all Zonai tech. It's all Zonai stuff. The shrines are Zonai shrines, and it's all, instead of being blue, it's green. You
go back in time too, or just your activating
No,
stuff?
only Zelda does. And so Zelda's back in time, and then you're finding these like tears on the ground called Tears of the Dragon, and they're like the memories from the first game. Okay. And they kind of are showing you what's happened. They're kind of memories of Zelda's memories of her time in the past. Okay. And so you're kind of discovering like the story of the game through like her memories that you're finding in these dragon tears, which are spread out over the world. And they're like on these, like, I don't know what you call it, like the Nazca lines, kind of like these like shapes of animals and different, you know, it's like a shape of a sword that are like, you know, not crop circles, but you know, the Nazca lines, like the
from the Aztec you're talking about?
Right, it's like that. Like you're finding.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Like,
Illusion of Gaia, they talk about it.
Yeah, there's these like Nazca line like symbols on the ground around Hyrule that you can only really see from the sky. You can only really tell what they are from the sky.
That makes sense.
Each of them has a tier, and each of those tiers is a memory, and it plays a cutscene. So it's just like in the first game where you find those the memories, and those are all the memories you're finding in Breath of the Wild are Link's memories.
Yeah.
And in this one, they're Zelda's memories.
Oh, how is the building mechanic? Like, one thing about Breath of the Wild, like, I mean, I had weapons break a lot less on me as I got farther. Is that still a big thing in this game, or you kind of build your own stuff so it doesn't matter?
Yes, exactly. So there's two building mechanics in the game. You can fuse. It's a fusion power, right? So you can fuse almost any item to almost any item. And there's essentially, you can fuse things to your weapon and to your shield, and then you can also fuse items together. And so like you can so you have like a sword, like just a rusty. That's another thing, is there's some sort of blight happening that is causing all weapons to degrade. So all the weapons you find are like rusted swords. They're like breaking. Okay. And the Master Sword, you lose the Master Sword in the game really early.
That's what because that has like this has like the rusted Master Sword, right? That's from this game, like the advertisement and stuff.
You later get the Master Sword back, and it's like it's like a broke. Okay. You have like a broken husk of the Master Sword.
I think the Zelda amiibo has the Master Sword she's holding, and it's all because I have right. The amiibo.
So basically, I don't want to spoil too much. Okay. You send the Master Sword back in time to Zelda. You find a way to send something back to her, and you send her the Master Sword. And then you find the Master Sword later where it's been left by her.
That makes sense.
So, but yeah, so you got like your rusty longsword, and then you can pick up a Lionel horn and fuse it on there, and now you've got a Lionel horn longsword.
Is this game easier than Breath of the Wild?
No, I would say in a way it's harder.
Okay.
Because it's more open. It's very open-ended. You can just go anywhere, do anything. And if you follow the kind of the path that the main storyline is telling you to take, then it's not that hard at all. But if you just end up wandering, you can get into some really like hard areas really easily because you can just go anywhere because you can fly up to the sky and then skydive down, and you can make vehicles, you can make flying machines and stuff, so you can fly around wherever you want to go. And there's all these like optional challenges to do. There's these like the three-headed dragon from the original Legend of Zelda is the boss.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's in the boss of the first Labyrinth is a one-headed dragon, but then the boss of I think Labyrinth 6 is a three-headed dragon. So they have those. There's like several of them spread out around the world on these like big, they're in various places.
Are they like dungeons?
No, they're just like hanging out. You're just like walking around, and there is like a bridge, and there is a giant three-headed dragon spitting lightning on it.
Oh.
And it will kick your ass unless you know how to fight it, and even then it's going to be hard. They're a challenge. And then there's some of them that they're Ghidorah. Yeah, and then I think it's Ghidorah, right? It's like from...
I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember.
I can't remember what they're called. It's been so long time. But anyway, they're like a fun challenge. There's a bunch of there's a bunch of them. There's some of them that have an ice head, a fire head, and a lightning head and stuff, and they're a fun challenge. But then when you kill them, like you can get like they drop like really good loot. But then what are you going to do with that loot? You're going to attach it to like a sword and make a badass lightning sword with it, right?
Okay.
And the dragons are in this game again, like the dragons from the first game.
Yes.
But now you can land on them and ride them.
Okay, that's awesome.
And they go on like a circuit around the world, but they also, all of them go under, all of them except for, there's a new dragon, there's a light dragon. The light dragon always flies in just a set path around Hyrule. The other dragons from the first game, the three dragons from the first game, they all fly also, but they also dive down into the Underdark and fly around in the Underdark and then fly back up. But if you can land on one and just ride it, and you get the materials from them that you use to upgrade your armor and stuff, you can just, you can land on him and like hit his horn and grab his horn, and then you have to wait 15 minutes and then his horn will flash, and now you can do it again. And you can sit there and farm the materials just riding them, and they'll take you all over Hyrule.
Okay.
And it's a lot of fun.
I'll have to play this sooner than it took me 5 years, I think, to play Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, you got to, especially coming off of Breath of the Wild. You'll really like it. It's different, but yeah, the weapon degradation, I know some people don't like it, but it doesn't bother you as much in this one because you're always upgrading your weapons. You're constantly, I was constantly throwing weapons away because I was getting something better.
Okay, and
so it wasn't like in the first game where you're like,
I
don't have that
after a while.
Yeah, and also you still have the Koroks, and you have to upgrade your item slots with the Koroks the same way. This time they do like a little dance with Hestu together, and it's a fun little dance. And Hestu hangs out like in like the first town you come to and just stays there, so you don't have to. You can always just do it there. Right. There's new towns also, and cool. There's monsters have taken over different areas, and there's like a monster squad going around that's like Hyrulean, knights and soldiers, and you can go and help them hunt down the monsters and hunt down and destroy the monsters that are controlling different areas. And one of them is they control that like beach town, La Laurelan, You have to save all the people. You have to wipe out all the monsters, and then you have to convince people to come move back there. And you rebuild the town. And then Terrytown, that town that you build in Breath of the Wild that you may not have done, that's a very long-term optional quest in the first game. It's a lot of fun. It's really cool. And at the end, there's a new town that you've built. Well, in this game, that town is like a big, bustling city, basically. I mean, not that big, but it's big. It's a big, bustling town. It's bigger than any of the other towns, probably.
Okay, I saw stuff for it.
Yeah, it's really great. It's kind of crazy, like, to go back and think about Breath of the Wild after Tears of the Kingdom, because it's like they just increased so much of what you can do. Like now the idea that you can fly up to the sky and there's a whole world up in the sky, and then you can skydive down and there's a whole world underneath the ground also. It's just like it's really, and then just the ability to build your vehicles and stuff, like build whatever you want. Like people have built mechs and stuff, and you know, like I built like an airship just filled to the brim with laser cannons, and like flew it over like an enemy stronghold and just have it just like ride at the Valkyries, just like
I might have to play
fire
this.
down below.
Sure.
It's a lot of fun.
Okay, and did you have any honorable mentions that you want to bring up before we wrap this up?
Baldur's Gate 3 was like a really, like, I think objectively one of the best games I've ever played. Is just like, you know, I've been playing D&D for about 22 years or so now, and you know, it's the closest I've ever come to playing to a video game that really actually felt like playing D&D. And so yeah, cool. It's a really great game. I didn't finish it. I didn't even finish Act 1 yet, but
it's huge from what I've heard.
It's so big. It's so, you can just do anything, and it's so much fun. So yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 is a very close second. And then I'm sure that Spider-Man 2 would be at the very top of my list, but I haven't played it yet. So I'm a big fan of the first two games. I'm looking forward to this one. It's on my soon to play list.
It looks good. I was at Walmart a few times, and they have they're like, we lowered the price $500 in the PS5 bundle with Spider-Man 2, and I'm just like, I kind of want to do this, but I don't want to at the same time. But
hey, if you can afford it, Ben, PS5.
I can't afford it. I just don't want to.
Yeah, PS5 is like the least regret I've ever had in a video game system purchase. That thing is amazing. I've been playing Cyberpunk. Yeah, that's another honorable mention right there. Cyberpunk.
Was that this year?
No, but the new version of Cyberpunk is this year. It was August. It was August or September. They completely revamped Cyberpunk, completely overhauled it. It's like a whole new game.
Okay,
they completely changed the skill and perk system. They changed how combat works. They changed how the police work to where it's more like GTA, where you have like stars and stuff, instead of the police just like teleporting to you and killing you anytime you like jaywalk, you know? And I'm having so much more fun with it this time. And I loved it the first time. I loved Cyberpunk. I put like 70 hours into Cyberpunk when it came out, but I'm playing it now on the PS5, this new version, and it's so much better. So
I might break down at some point by PS5. I'm kind of waiting for the next model to come out first. So
yeah, I bet that's coming. I bet that's coming next year.
Yeah, that's one reason I'm kind of waiting, because I like to get the second models when they release systems. Get the slimmer version that runs better. Yeah. So, all right. Well, thank you for that, Carrie. And where can people find you at?
Hey, I'm on Twitch and YouTube is Keroseta, Kerooseta. I modify and repair video game consoles, and usually just stream whatever I happen to be playing. A lot of Apex. Yeah, a lot of Dark Souls. Been playing Apex Legends with my son a lot, so I've been streaming that a lot, and just you can watch me just suck at that game terribly. So.
And what is the name of your son's YouTube channel?
Oh, thanks. It's NatureP Dragon. It's NatureP_Dragon, I think.
And there'll be a link in the show notes.
Yeah, he does dragon puppets and other stuff on there, but mostly dragon puppets.
Okay. All right, and thank you, Carrie, for joining. And on to the next one. And who's with me?
My name is Isiah, lifelong gamer, friend of Mike here. No plugs or anything like that. Don't have to worry about trying to find me anywhere.
And welcome back. And what is your game of the year for 2023?
Oh, that's easy. It's honestly a game that did not come out in 2023, but saw a massive resurgence with with its expansion and subsequent patches, and that's got to be Cyberpunk 2077. I never would have thought I would have new experiences in that game this year, sinking over 150 hours into it.
Damn. So the game completely changed, didn't it? After all the patches and
DLC? Patch 2.0 changed a lot of how the game operated, and then Phantom Liberty added, I want to say, another 25 hours to the story, gave it an additional ending. Like, hands down, well done, CD Projekt Red, because like we all know, Cyberpunk was crap when it launched. Had a lot of bugs.
Yes. Didn't
live up to the hype. But 2023, they really turned it around, and it's practically a brand new game at this point.
I do want to play it. I see it on sale every so often on Steam, and I haven't bought yet, but I do want to.
Oh, I'm gonna advocate right now. You need to make that the next one, and if you decide to have it on the podcast at any point, I am definitely your man. Like, okay. I want to say, since its launch, I've probably dropped about 400 hours into that game. Considering it came out in 2020, that's not exactly unfeasible, but like, 4 or 5 different characters, multiple paths that I've done. Like, it's one of those games that you can find a lot of things that you haven't found in, multiple playthroughs.
Okay, I forgot it was 2020 that game came out.
Yep, actually, a little bit over 3 years old now.
Wow. Okay.
Because it came out in December.
Damn.
So. Yeah, but like I said, it's a brand new game, and so especially since you'd be picking it up for the first time, you could see it through fresh eyes as in its best form. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get that completely.
Like, so that definitely hands down right now is my 2023 game of the year. Just because it managed to suck me in for an additional 150 hours, being 3 years old.
And if they, the DLC came out this year, so that can count.
Yeah. But I mean, like I said, how many games do you get sucked into that launched like crap that you then sink an additional 150 into?
Well, I never sink 150 in anything these days, but Gotham Knights I played this year, and that was a game that had really changed.
Oh, I guarantee you, I could name one game as an honorable mention that you sunk 150 hours into. Because I've probably sunk, easily.
Yeah,
easily.
I put 9 hours a week in the Marvel Snap is what usually on average.
Right,
so,
exactly. Yeah, I mean, so if you put 9 hours a week, 365 days a year, you're dropping almost 400 hours into that game a week. I am too. I'm not going to lie, because I can't fault you. It's such a great game.
It really is.
And Second Dinner's constant, like, they listen to the fans. The fans don't always agree with the changes that they make, but, no. Like, they at least give their reasons for the changes that they've made, which I can appreciate. So, and deep down, when they nerf a card that, was way overperforming and everybody gets butthurt, I'm the one dude that's like, you know what? They're out of line, but they're not wrong.
I don't mind. I'm always happy when they nerf cards and change cards. None of that ever bothers me when it comes to Marvel Snap. Like, I have no issue with it.
It keeps the game
I'm
healthy,
playing a Ronin deck now because of the changes. So it's like,
right.
I don't mind.
Right, exactly.
I have almost the entire collection, so I don't care.
Yeah, same here. I think I'm like 4 or 5 cards off, but like it's one of those things, like them changing cards up, making room for other cards to shine that have been out for a while. Like, I remember when everybody hated Leech because they couldn't do anything turn 6, and then they changed Leech, and everybody's like, yes, thank you, but he's still one of those cards that you see hit the field, and it's like, crap, I forgot about him.
He doesn't bother me anymore, but yeah, no, I completely.
He bothers everybody. Don't lie. You have your optimal plan. You've snapped. They've snapped. You're going for 8 cubes into turn 5, and then all of a sudden there's Leech.
It doesn't bother me that much anymore. I don't run into him a lot either.
I don't run into him a lot, but when I run into him, he's annoying. So, it is what it is.
So what about
Marvel Snap? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, what else about like Cyberpunk really grabbed you?
With
the new stuff.
With the new stuff, Idris Elba's performance is really great, and it kind of holds. So the thing about Cyberpunk is it's very much like the style of movie that I'm into is you don't know who to root for, because the main character isn't necessarily a good guy, but he's not a bad guy either. You understand his motivations. You may not agree with them. That's what Phantom Liberty brings to the table, and Cyberpunk as a whole, because it really all depends on your personal motivations, or if you're, an avid role player like I am, living in that character and their motivations. and how the whole world just kind of fits to that. Like with Phantom Liberty, it's you have all these different power players and none of their motivations are on the level, so to speak. Like there's no one real character where you're like, they're not hiding anything. This is my character that I'm gonna side with. None of them are like that. And it's great because it makes you think. So I mean, and then like a lot of the quests, a lot of fun. It brings a lot I want to say like the main ending quest, so to speak. It brought me back to the days of playing Metal Gear Solid for the first time in a way.
Oh, that's impressive then.
Yeah. Like they really captured a very stealthy, suspenseful element to it.
It
like there's been
cool. I mean, I haven't really thought about Cyberpunk much.
Absolutely. Well, and it's like I said, it's one of those games like it came out 3 years ago and 2021 because it had so many issues. It was at the back of everybody's mind. 2022, they're still fixing issues, but nothing really major, putting it at the back of your mind. And then they released the trailer for Phantom Liberty. And then they started talking about patch 2.0 and the changes they were making. And then that's when I looked at it and I was like, you know what? I played a lot of this game back in 2020 and early 2021. It's time to go back into Night City. It's time to go back. And I did. And it was not disappointing.
I heard that a lot of things have changed, like the way the police system changed.
Oh, yeah. They will chase the hell out of you now. If you point pre-patch 2.0, if you pointed a gun at a cop in the game, not much would happen. Now it's like instant 3 stars, I think, if that happens. Like, so in Phantom Liberty, they introduced vehicle hacking, or in 2.0, they introduced vehicle hacking. If you hack a vehicle and it kills somebody, you're the one that gets the wanted level now.
Oh, that makes sense, though.
Yeah, it makes sense, but it's not like you physically committed the act. So, but they did a lot. And then with 2.1, I know a lot of people are upset with this, but in 2.1, they introduced, they fixed the gangs where if you get into a issue with a gang and shoot at them, they will chase you now. Some people are saying it's a little excessive, but like you kill one of their chums, they're going to come at you. So it's definitely one of those games that you should definitely pick up the next time it's on sale on Steam. I highly recommend it. And the soundtrack, oh my god, the soundtrack
is the DLC more standalone-ish, or is it part of just like an extra part of the game that you go to?
It's an extra part of the game. So officially, it takes place. I want to say about 30% of the way through the game is when you can start it. So it's an additional branch to take.
Okay.
So, but it's nice. It's not like you load up a character, that's already completed the game, that has to have completed the game in order to do it. You can do it starting with at any point once you pass the point where you unlock it. So, but what's also really nice too is that when you do beat the game with a character, you have a save that's made just prior to the point of no return. So you can take any character that has completed the game and go and complete it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because they wanted to make it so everybody could experience it no matter what point you're at in the game once you've unlocked it.
And it's way more fun like that when you have those options.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, there's so many branching endings in there. It's like if just for the short DLC that it is, there's like 4 branching endings. So
that sounds cool.
And in true Night City fashion, nobody really gets a happy ending.
I mean, you sound like they're all probably bad people that you're dealing with anyway, so.
Play it and you'll understand my point about how it really depends on your personal convictions or your character's personal convictions if you're actually doing it as a role play experience. Like I said,
I wasn't interested at all for a long time, but it's definitely got my interest because of all the good things people have been saying about it.
Oh, absolutely. And it's, like I said, they just keep making it better. Like, we're not going to get another expansion, but like they've already said they're committed to making it a better experience because now most of the team has shifted over to the new Cyberpunk project.
Oh, we're actually getting a sequel?
I wouldn't necessarily call it a sequel, but it's definitely going to take place in the same universe, same world.
That's cool. I'm glad we're getting something else with it.
Yeah. And that's the beauty part about things like Cyberpunk, Dungeons and Dragons, stuff like that. It doesn't always necessarily have to be a sequel. It can be just in that same universe, same world offshoot.
I'm just glad it didn't kill the studio either because it was bad when that came out. Woo.
Yeah, like I was kind of scared because like the Witcher series was always a big thing for them. And granted, like The Witcher 3 had its issues at launch, but they were able to get those fixed pretty quick. But Cyberpunk, it was drastic. Like, it was pulled from the PlayStation Store for, I think, over a year, but part of the problem too is that when Cyberpunk launched, it was only supposed to be for next gen consoles. It was only supposed to be for high-end PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X, but they were committed to making it come out compatible with PS4 and Xbox One X. So
that's publishers, I'm assuming. So
yep. I mean, it made sense though, because when it launched, the PS5 was only a few months old. So you wanted to cater to both crowds, get as much money as you could. I think had they delayed it for 6 months and made it just next gen exclusive, they would have had time to fix a lot of the issues, and it would have just been a much better game all around.
But somebody wanted that money before the year ended, is what it was.
I mean, money talks.
Yeah, I get that, but a broken game is not going to sell as well as
No, absolutely.
The repercussions are not going to be nice.
Right, and CD Projekt Red is still feeling those repercussions, and they're going to feel them for years to come because, like, their stock took a hit, they had a lot of layoffs and such. So, like, they're still going to feel those repercussions. But at the end of the day, I think they will bounce back, and I think Phantom Liberty was a step in the right direction for that.
And the anime really got people back into Cyberpunk too.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I've watched it twice. It's an amazing piece of work. And there's if you're a fan of the anime, there's actually spots in Night City that will, tie into that. So
cool.
Yeah, I would highly suggest
check out the anime.
Oh, I would say definitely give it a go. It's 10 episodes and it does not disappoint. What I will say though is do a little bit of research on the world of Cyberpunk before you watch the anime. Just that way you're not lost as to what things like how things go. Because it's very much like imagine Shadowrun without magic. That's the best way to explain it. Shadowrun without magic.
Okay. I've never played Shadowrun, but I always meant to play those Genesis games and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would definitely they have 3 Shadowrun games that are out on like PC and current gen consoles that yeah,
I picked them up on sales and bundles, and
yeah,
I have
same here. I mean, like I fumbled my way through the first one, and once I have a couple of games that I'm working on cleared up, I'll probably go back and play those, or I'll just inevitably play Baldur's Gate 3 or Cyberpunk again because I keep getting drawn back to those two.
I can understand that.
So
I've heard nothing but good things about Baldur's Gate 3, and
it's amazing. And it would have been my game of the year, but number one, like I always love a good fight story where you get knocked down and you get back up and just go.
You're just never going to keep them down.
Right, exactly, and that Cyberpunk is a testament to that. But Baldur's Gate, such an amazing game. Larian did an amazing job with it. As a fan of the first 2 Baldur's Gates that came out on PC, like it stayed faithful to the story of Baldur's Gate, which is great. And it is a direct continuation, but it's one of those things, or I shouldn't say direct. It takes place 100 years after Baldur's Gate 2, but it is one of those that keeps true to that lore. And you just feel great about it as a Baldur's Gate fan playing it. I have issues with the fact that the level cap is only 12, but I understand it's one of those things. I understand why they implemented it. Well, in D&D 5th ed, once you start unlocking 7th level spells, those are reality breaking.
Okay, I haven't played D&D since I think 3.0 we did with Bill back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day. Yeah, it was like 3.0, but I'm definitely going to say like 7th level spells in 5th ed, a lot of them are reality breaking, and if you're going to implement that into the game, there's just no way to really account for what the players are doing. And Larian's stance is if the player can think it and implement it in game, then they get rewarded for it. That's why you see a lot of videos of guys stacking like 20 crates high and chucking a rock onto somebody and just insta-killing them.
Okay.
Or throwing all these barrels into a satchel, throwing the satchel in a building, hitting it with an arrow of fire and watching as the entire building explodes.
I haven't watched any videos of the game. I just know people love it.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun. And if you're looking for that quintessential D&D experience, it's definitely a game that I highly recommend.
Okay.
So,
and do you have any other honorable mentions you wanted to bring up, or that was everything?
That was about everything. Because those are the main games that I've really played this year outside of games for the podcast, which I'm working a little bit on Jedi Fallen Order for the upcoming podcast in the future.
in a couple. Well, depending on when you hear this, it's coming up very soon.
Yeah, exactly. So, figure got to grind my way through that. So, but then after that, I'm probably going to pick up Jedi Fallen Survivor. So, but I've heard great things about that game.
Same. I'm looking forward to playing that at some point.
Exactly. And it's when you said that you were looking for people for Jedi Fallen Order, I'm like, well, I haven't started Jedi Fallen Survivor yet, and I was going to play Jedi Fallen Order first, so I might as well, help a buddy out and get caught back up. So
it's a good game too. So
oh, absolutely, I'm loving it. So and my kids loving watching me play it too.
It's a really good game. All right.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And thank you, Isiah, for joining. And
all right.
Stay tuned for the next one.
Have a good one, guys.
Hi, who's with me?
We got Vincent Goodwin from the Some of My Friends Read Comics podcast.
And welcome. And as I've said here many times at this point, what is your game of the year for 2023?
It's Mortal Kombat 1 or Mortal Kombat 12. I love it. Mortal Kombat 1. It's great.
I didn't see that coming.
Really? I mean, I didn't see that coming either. You would assume, like, me being a big Nintendo guy, it'd be Zelda. There were 2 Yakuza games this year. One of them, which was really good. But no, it's Mortal Kombat 1. I've been a huge Mortal Kombat fan since I was very, very little. Not very, very little, but when it came out, I was like 8. And I remember my mom being like, "You're going to go to the arcade. Do not play Mortal Kombat." And I'm like, okay.
Like, I'm going to.
Well, but it was also like 50-cent game, so I wasn't playing it, but I was watching the shit out of it. And this was in the era, when like Mortal Kombat, like every other issue cover of EGM or GamePro was Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter because it just like sold. Yeah. So have y'all covered any Mortal Kombat games on the show?
No, we haven't. I've thought about covering some of the early stuff, but I haven't gotten there yet.
Okay, so I have to do like a little preamble to explain why this one's special or why Mortal Kombat's good, because on the surface you're like, it's Mortal Kombat, like who gives a shit? Like it's
hey, if you enjoy
it's a tournament fighting game. But starting with Mortal Kombat versus DC, aka Mortal Kombat 8, they added in a story mode to it. And not just like a tangential, like, they got kind of rid of the tower for the single player mode. You can still have that as a side mode. But what the story mode is you play each character in the game and you do they become like your point of view character for 4 fights. And so usually it's like against like a big person, a small, fast person. And you do 4 fights with like Wonder Woman or one like Sub-Zero. And then you do 4 fights with Scorpion and it's very like scripted. And then you go to Johnny Cage and then you'll go to Raiden or something like that. So it ends up like forcing you to play as every single character. So then whenever you go to like the online or just want to play with your friends or do single player, every single one of the characters. And it's like got an actual like story where everything has like a little like 5-minute cutscene between each fight. So it ends up like you can play the whole game on YouTube. They did the same thing with Injustice, the same team, which is a very good comic. I don't know if y'all covered that on your comic side.
We haven't either, no.
It's a good comic. So, because I'm from the Some of My Friends Read Comics podcast, we've been talking about doing that forever. But then with Mortal Kombat 9, aka Mortal Kombat 2011.
Yep, which is not on Steam, by the way.
It's not on Steam, right?
No, and that upsets me because I want to buy it on Steam so I can cover it on the show, but
you can't because of the rights issues, which is going to be a problem for every single future Mortal Kombat release.
Oh yeah,
Freddy Krueger's in it, but specifically the Jackie Earl Haley version of Freddy Krueger.
DLC, so maybe that shouldn't. Is that why it's not around?
Yeah, that's exactly the reason why it was.
That's so fucking stupid. Because I have 10 and 11 on Steam, but I can't get 9.
Yes, exactly. And they delisted it from PS3 store and the Xbox 360 store. You can't buy it. You can buy a disc of the Xbox 360 game and it'll run on your Xbox Series X, which is how I've been playing Mortal Kombat 9.
I have a disc of PS3.
This is a long preamble to get to Mortal Kombat.
No, it's good. That's just I fucking hate license bullshit. But yeah,
it is what. Yeah, I hate the games are delisted because Mortal Kombat 9 is pretty good. It's a reboot of the series, or ostensibly a reboot of the series. Yeah. It runs through Mortal Kombat 9, aka Mortal Kombat, runs through the first 3 Mortal Kombats, and that's when I got back in because like when Mortal Kombat went to like the N64 with Mortal Kombat 4, it went to like 3D fighting. Kind of like Virtua Fighter. I'm like, I'm not really as into this. And then they had like Deadly Alliance and Armageddon and Deception in the PS2 era, which are fine, but like not really what I wanted. And so with Mortal Kombat 9, they're like, we're going to just go back to the first 3. So I'm like, oh, these are characters I know from when I was like 8, 9 years old. I'm into it. I got it for my Vita That's where I played this. I bought a I'm a big Nintendo guy, but I bought a Vita before I bought a 3DS, and I bought it with Mortal Kombat 9, which had all the DLC. It's great.
Because I know 1 is a sequel to 9, 10, 11, and then 1.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah, because Mortal Kombat 1, getting back to that, you would think that's also a reboot. It is and it isn't. So with Mortal Kombat 9, like the whole fate of the multiverse, all the bullshit, like Raiden was like, oh man, like Quan Chi, who's from the later Mortal Kombats, and Shang Tsung and Shao Kahn from the early Mortal Kombats, they got together and they formed a deadly alliance and they fucked all of the realms. And so I'm just going to restart time and we're going to just start a new universe. And that's how they had a soft reboot with Mortal Kombat 9. So that's how you get to Mortal Kombat 9. This is a long way for me to say, like, this is why I think the story's cool.
I like the story too. I wasn't into the older one as much, and I really got into 9. I played 10, but I own 11, but I haven't touched it.
Yeah. So 11, like the end, like the beginning of Mortal Kombat 9, similarly, Quan Chi, Shang Tsung, and Shao Kahn fuck over all Earth Realm, Outer Worlds, whatever, Outrealm, whatever they call them, the Nether Realms, everything like that. And Raiden's like, every time I reboot this stupid universe, I fuck up, and then they fuck up everything. So I'm not going to do it this time. Liu Kang, you're in charge. You design it. And so Liu Kang's like, okay, well, so Liu Kang is now like in the Raiden role of like classic Mortal Kombat. And this, and so it's marketed as like, it was like, oh, this is a reboot because, you know, these things get very bloated, but really it's a straight sequel. And
that's what I thought.
Yeah. And so like, it's like a sequel. Like it starts off very like pastoral, like Kung Lao and Raiden are kind of like friends. They do some like friendly battles. That's how you do the story mode. So you can like fight other characters that aren't just the bad guys. They fight. Everybody's chill. The Mortal Kombat is like UFC fights. It's not like for the fate of the universe. It's just like, oh, we went over and we hung out with Katana and Melina and their mom, Sindel. We did some fights. They're like, oh, you're pretty good. Thank you. I'm pretty good too. And it's like, cool. And then somebody's like, yo. And also like Liu Kang is like, okay, I'm just going to like split up Shang Tsung, Shao Kahn, and Quan Chi. I'm just going to spread them like 3/4 of the universe. I'm going to depower them all. Nothing's good. Nothing's bad's going to happen. And then people are like, Shang Tsung and Shao Kahn are hanging out now. And he's like, what the fuck? Yeah. And they just met Quan Chi. And Liu Kang's like, oh shit, shit's going down. And then like Kenshi, I don't know if you know Kenshi, but this was like he's the dude
blind
with
guy, right?
The blind guy. Yeah. So he's not blind in this game, but spoiler alert, as these multiversal stories tend to do, he gets blinded. And there's a great scene where Liu Kang looks at him and goes, yeah, I thought that might happen again. And she's like, what the fuck? What the fuck do you mean that? It's just great. It's great. The whole thing is like a real good, like, and like the chapter titles and it are like the titles of previous games. Like there's a chapter called Deadly Alliance. Yeah. It's really like for fans who have like followed the whole series, like, because it is like a weirdly, it's had reboots, but it's still like a straight continuity for the last 30 years now. It's like very rewarding. And then the story mode at the very end, you know how like you follow every chapter, but I remember like playing Mortal Kombat 9, Mike. I think you said you beat it. Like I don't like the final. I don't like the final battle being as Raiden because I don't like playing as him.
Oh, that final fight was fucking ridiculous in Mortal Kombat 9.
It was. It's bullshit. So this one says at the end, you know, it's like, you know what? Fuck it. For the final chapter, you pick your favorite character.
Oh, that's cool.
It's so cool. So then like the final chapter is whoever you want to save the universe, the world, and everything like that. Some light spoiler, but you know, mechanically like this is like the best evolution of this like model of story between like Mortal Kombat versus DC 9, 10, 11, and now 1 again. It's just like a very nice way to end the story. So then your hero is the hero, the one that you like. And I like Johnny Cage the most.
Okay, that's cool. I mean, that's cool though, to like let you play the character that you feel most comfortable with for whatever bullshit they're making you do.
Well, for the hardest battles of the game, yeah. As opposed to a character I don't like in the hardest battles of the game. Yeah. So that's really cool. And so the story mode was fun. It's less bloated. I feel like with 10 and 11, sometimes the cutscenes got really long, like 10 to 15 minutes long. These ones are all like less than 5 minutes. So it's a much breezier game. Okay. The intrigue is very good. The character motivations are cool. It does a lot of cool things with like, because it ends up like other multiverses start coming into play. So you, like the final battles aren't just you fighting against like the 4 main bad guys. You get to fight against like an evil Sub-Zero, because Sub-Zero is good in this game. You get to fight as like an evil, evil Johnny Cage is from an alternate universe, all these other things.
Oh, so that sounds fun.
Yeah. So like because I mean, there's only, I don't even know, 20 something fighters. So you're going to end up playing the same people over and over again, but like giving them different character motivations. that aren't betraying the character is really smart. So I like that game. And so I beat the story mode. It's fun. But then they have like a to keep playing mode, and they've tried to like figure out like how do we keep people playing past the story mode, because I'm much more of a single player fighter.
Same.
I don't like going online. I don't like, you know, like Street Fighter I'm not particularly good at, and the internet is very good at Street Fighter, and the computer's pretty good, and they've not been able to figure out their story modes, although I hear this year's Street Fighter 6 has got a pretty good story mode.
That's what I've heard too.
Which I'm gonna have to look into at some point. But I'm like, oh, I'm done with this. But then they have this extra thing called Invasions mode, which is really. Did you play Smash Brothers Ultimate?
No, actually,
Okay.
I've never have yet. Unfortunately.
Okay, have you seen like maybe you or your?
I know what you're
listeners
talking about the World of Lighters.
Yeah,
Something with Kirby,
like-
and then it goes from there.
There's a map that you walk around on
Yeah.
Smash Bros. And it's like you're fighting Bumblebee Mario. You know, you're fighting some Bumblebee challenge. And basically, like if Mario like butt stomps you, and he's also like in brown and white, then you get like all hazy daisy and stuff. So they kind of do like a weird like variation, or they'll be like, this is like an armored metal Mario level or armored metal Metroid. So it's like different variations on the same concept. They do the same thing for Mortal Kombat. So you have basically a World of Light style map where you just like, and there's like, you know, I would say literally hundreds of battles that you're going through that are all like different themed with different like toggles. You know, so you can do like different cool battles. And then they made it seasonal. So the maps are going to refresh every 2 months. So they did this like kind of like live service seasonality thing. So then but like as a single player, I'm not fighting against people online. The map's different. The challenges are different. And then the stupidest and the coolest thing I think they put in here was they made unlockable seasonal palette color costumes for the characters. Again, you don't have to pay real money for this.
Okay, that's not so bad then.
So like I can outfit like Shang Tsung or, you know, Katana like in fall colors, like oranges and reds. And then now it's winter, so I'm buying like blue and white sets for all my characters. I'm unlocking this. If they did this shit for Smash Bros, like, and you got like winter wear for Wario and winter wear for Mario and winter wear for Samus and the Fire Emblem characters, like, oh my God, I would be playing all the time.
Nintendo's not that nice.
Nintendo's not that nice. I mean, they do have like, you can pay a fuck ton of money for like a Dia de los Muertos Scorpion, which is pretty cool, but that's real money. And then the other thing, like I remember I haven't actually played enough of this Christmas, but with Mortal Kombat 11, like during the Christmas time, like Scorpions, like get over here, turned into like a giant candy cane hook.
That's cool.
They just replaced it. I'm hoping they do the same thing with this kind of seasonality, just to make it like stupid and fun. I know F-Zero 99 just added for its holiday, they added like snowy levels. I like that they like trying to figure out a way to like extend the gameplay in a way that's not just me going online. Because I think like honestly, like most people who are actually like real fighting fans would say like Mortal Kombat's probably not the most like technical fighter, and it's probably not particularly deep.
No, I think Street Fighter is more
right
that road.
But I just want to look cool. I want to like be able to like punch people in the air, and when I punch them, their heads come off and like 7 femurs come out. Like that's the kind of stuff I want to just look cool, because I'm not that good at these games. I'm not going to go online and get my ass kicked. And so like it's just fun. I'm Melina, I'm Katana, I'm Johnny Cage, and I go and I fight people, and then I get cute costumes for myself, and it's fun. So the story mode I feel like is the best they've ever had, and it's actually it's an okay jumping on point considering it is a reboot. It's like relatively a good jumping on point, but I feel like if you've been paying attention and listening or playing the games for like a long time, then it's more rewarding. And then they added this extendable like invasions mode that I was just like playing constantly on my Steam Deck while my kids are like watching, you know, whatever they're watching now, Bluey, you know, which is so funny that like I used to hide my Mortal Kombat playing from my parents, and now I'm hiding it from my children. Don't look over here. This is too violent. You don't want to see it. So it's my game of the year. It's great. I love Mortal Kombat.
Okay. I'm glad that did you play the Switch version or did you play it on like PS5?
I played it on Steam Deck.
Okay. Makes sense.
Which is what, a PS4 powered kind of thing? Like
wonderful, whatever it is.
Did it completely eat through all the battery in like an hour 47? Yes. Yeah. Did it have to be put on the local memory, not the SD card? Yes. But did it run every time you go into idle mode, does it disconnect from the internet? Yes. But other than that, it worked. It worked great. I loved it. It's the first game I ever spent like fucking $100 on, because I took off work to play it early. And then they did this bullshit where it's like, only if you buy the version with all the DLC do you get it for 5 days early, and I'm like, well, shit. And that was actually in the internet told me like that's the day it comes out, not the real day it came out. So I'm like, well, I guess I took off of work. I guess I'm spending $100 on this game that will literally be $10 in a year on every service. And it will be with all the DLC. You'll be able to buy it for $10 by next holiday.
We'll see. I mean, this will be now, locked in your comments. So we'll see. Someone out there might listen to this and you're
it won't. It will be. Because you could buy Mortal Kombat 11 for a song now. You can buy it pretty quickly. It won't be that way. By the time the DLC comes out, like honestly, it'll be. I think it was probably $30 at this time, $35. But
yeah, it'll take a while before it actually hits 10 because it'll take a few years to get down that low.
Yeah, I'm being hyperbolic, but it'll be much cheaper than $100.
Yeah, it's not like Gotham Knights that I got for like $30 in a huge bundle because nobody. Yeah,
I did get all the. Not Mortal Kombat 9 though. Not Mortal Kombat 9. That one doesn't hold up nearly as well after playing.
I'm just so mad that I can't buy it.
Yeah,
I have it in other ways that I could play it, but I want to buy it and I can't. And that makes me upset.
It's so good. It's not as good, but it's closer to the PS2 games than you remember. But Mortal Kombat 9, they're all so good. I just love the story mode. I think it's such like a brilliant revelation in how to play a game. You look cool, and I feel like they really figured it out this time. Now, of course, I know they had crunch for Mortal Kombat 11. I didn't look at any stories about Mortal Kombat 1. I'm hoping they didn't resort to those kind of things and bad labor practices this time. I will caveat that. They are known to do that. So,
yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I know they did it for 11, but this one also took 4 years since the last game, so I'm hoping they figured some of that out. But
got their shit together.
I'm ending on a bummer of labor practices and Warner Brothers being a terrible company. But it's a really fun game. Get it when it's cheap. They keep adding in new characters. I think Peacemaker is going to be added soon. They've got Omni.
More reasons for it to disappear off the face of the earth eventually.
Well, all right. Right. That's why you got to buy it now, and then you'll always be able to re-download it from Steam.
Yeah, Warner Brothers won't take it away from you. No, never.
No. They're
trying. They're the first.
That's
company
the one that's trying to do the stuff with like trying to take their Discovery Channel shows off the PlayStation Store.
Just because
that you've already purchased. That's true.
No one else has done it yet, other than Nintendo, to just shut down their market. That's different. Yeah.
It's a trial. It's a nice trial balloon.
All right.
Sorry. Way to end on a bummer. Check out Mortal Kombat 1 or any of the other games that people loved on this Games of the Year podcast. Mike, have you told the audience what your favorite game is?
No, I didn't think I had one until I talked to somebody earlier and they brought up something that I'm going to... actually, I can mention it right now if you have time. I'll just plug it in my last thing. Since you are my last interview.
Absolutely.
My Game of the Year, Marvel Snap. I know it didn't exactly come out this year, but it did change a lot this year.
Oh, really?
They changed their whole collection system. Do you play Marvel Snap?
I don't. I just follow our friend Carrie, who's been on a lot of episodes.
Carrie Chandler.
He posts a lot about Marvel Snap.
I'm full. I don't play mobile games usually. I never get into them. This one I've been dropping anywhere from $10 to $30 a month on this damn game.
Okay.
Usually I try not to do that. I'm not that kind of guy, but as I was looking up, I realized I just spent like $25 on this game last week.
I can justify that though. Like if that's literally like the big thing you're playing.
I play lots of stuff, but I've been putting I can tell you for sure by looking at my phone, 9 hours a week into Marvel Snap every day.
Yeah.
I mean,
so 30. There's comic books are more expensive than that. Food's more expensive than that.
But no, I love Marvel Snap. I've been playing it nonstop since it came out. I didn't start the month it came out. I started the month after, which was the Black Panther season. And then every season since then, I put the $10 in. I buy the season pass. I get the brand new card that comes out. When they do little bundles, I unfortunately will catch myself. That's everything that I spent money on, which is they do a lot of bundles. And some of the bundles are actually like, for $5, like this is a good little bundle. So I'm like, fucking A, here you go. Have my $5.
That's good.
Have my $10.
They figured it out because I still play Pokemon Go and I feel like they have not been able to figure out how to monetize that lately. So
I love the game. The game keeps changing.
That's awesome.
I mean, I use different cards. They do a very good job. Usually about twice a month, or I think maybe not. Yeah, it might be more than that even sometimes. They try to change things up. They try to, they'll nerf cards. They'll buff cards. They're constantly looking at the metagame and saying, hey, this is too powerful. This is too weak. Nobody's using this card. Let's make this card better. Or this card doesn't fit. Like, for example, Wolverine has been in this game forever. And they didn't like the way he worked, where if you killed him, he would then jump to another location. I think he got, and I think he maybe got +1, but they gave it to where he gets +2 power and jump. So then he became a card everybody started using. You had Spider-Man that used to be a card that was 5/4, which means you could only play it on turn 5. And what it would do is it would lock out a whole zone, so you couldn't, and people would use that to then win the game by controlling the map. And they changed it to a weaker card, but now he grabs the card and moves to another area with another card, which fits more Spider-Man. Like they're constantly looking at the characters and going, this doesn't fit the character in Marvel, so we want to change it to make it fit. And the game is changing all the time. Like they're constantly making changes to it, and I love it. I'm not in, like, I normally don't do this with games. I don't like spending money on a mobile game, but like the day the season pass drops, every month now, it will drop at like noon. Immediately I type in, put the money in, and I get the new card. Like I might not even play it for like a week. But like they also added something that wasn't originally called weekend missions, where every weekend for like now 4 days, you have a chance to get more credits, more gold, which is the money currency, and more tokens, which is one of the currencies to get new cards. Like they're constantly changing the game. I mean, yes, I spend money, but the money I'm spending really isn't getting me more cards. It's just getting me closer to having some of that. But it's really just the fact that I've been playing nonstop and then I buy the season pass. And that's really all you need to do is just do the season pass, the $10. You shouldn't do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But I love it. I play it every single day. I do my missions. I've only had it happen 2 or 3 times where my missions capped out, because you get 2 every 8 hours, so you get 6 a day, and they cap out at 6. And there's only been twice where I've been so busy where I lost a mission or 2, and I was upset. I mean, you played mobile games. You know how it caps stuff out and does that.
I still play Pokemon Go. That's my main mobile game that I play every day.
I used to play that, but I also couldn't drop money on that game.
No, I stopped dropping money on it a long time ago. They didn't make it particularly enticing.
No, I mean, Marvel Snap does it. Like, I felt bad yesterday whenever I dropped the $5 and $10, but it's just one of those games where I'm like, you know what? You have a good little bundle that feels to me worth it. So I just do it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't feel too, like, I know there's all these things like, don't, the mobile and stuff, but like, for the amount of time I play Pokemon Go, the amount of money I've spent on it, and I've spent, probably $200, so I guess more than Mortal Kombat 1. I spent more money on Pokemon Go than any other game in my life. But I also have played it every day for 7 years. So like and like if you're literally like hitting it 3 or 4 times a day, that's more than you're playing Gotham Knights. That's more than you're playing anything else, Even the games you love.
That's why I justify it enough, is that it's constantly something I'm doing all the time.
Yeah. And it doesn't sound very predatory, and it doesn't sound like the amount of money I spent on Magic cards back in the day.
No, it's not as predatory as some people might say. I don't think Marvel Snap is that predatory. Like, you really don't need to do what I'm doing. Like, right. I mean, you don't even need to see, like, example, Carrie, you brought up earlier, he plays it. He's only spent, I think, $20 as he wanted Spider-Gwen. I think he wanted one other card. But, like, you don't have to spend money, and I think he has a pretty close to top collection, too. Like, the way the game works now is if you're a free-to-play player, every week you're going to get what's called a Spotlight Key, and you can use this to open a cache where you're going to get new cards. And you used to get about 1 a week, and then every month they have different cards that they put in. That's a new system they added. So, like, even a new player can get a lot of cards pretty quickly without having to put any money in. Just play the game. So it's not as, and it's also no gotcha system really.
Yeah, because that's the gambling part of the Magic.
That's where they get you. And there was one at one point, like when this game first started, or not. At some point they did have a gotcha system, and they got rid of it because people.
That's amazing.
Bitched.
That's good.
So, I mean, the Spotlight caches where you have 4 chests, but you know exactly what's in off form. One's a new card, and then it shows you what the other 2 cards are that you're going to get, and then one is a mystery card that you can get. And once you get each one of those, it goes away until you open all 4, and then it'll show you what the next cycle is. It doesn't feel predatory. You also can't buy the keys. Like you have, like, even if you were to put real money into this game, you aren't going to get those keys without you would have to spend hundreds of dollars to get anywhere by those keys. Not like, oh, here, give us $10, you have a key. Like, it doesn't do that type of bullshit, thank God. It would make you have to buy credits that then you would then have to use if you use your cards enough to level them up. It would open up a whole nother packet of stuff that it doesn't hit that same itch for a lot of people probably where it would be the gambling aspect.
So did you play like ever like Magic or Hearthstone or anything like that?
I never played Hearthstone. I did play Magic, but I played back in like the early 2000s and the 90s. So long fucking time ago.
Yeah, because I played Magic like in like 96 and then like back again like in 2012 I got back into it for just like a year. And so I'm always like curious that like I remember my friends were really into Hearthstone for a while and those same friends are now into Snap.
Well, it's the same people.
Yeah. Oh, is it really?
And then there was a DC game, Dual Force, but that's already got canceled.
Okay.
So that came out and it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Which really sucks that, like, because I was excited for it and they already announced they're shutting it down next year.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they didn't get the money they wanted.
Yeah. I mean, you know, the mobile games there's, you know, it's a crapshoot for them. I know, you know. Like, I know, like the Harry Potter Pokemon Go game is gone, and like a lot of those things are too. So
that's why I don't like. That's why I was always very against spending money on a mobile game.
Yeah,
it's why it was hard for me to even start what I'm doing, and now I'm usually pretty good about it. Just this month I spent more than I realized. So they had a few good days. Well, you know, holidays they had some good bundles for Christmas and stuff.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome,
I got my money's worth when I dropped my $10.
That's awesome.
My 15. I got a lot of crap. Well, it also has variants, and I like collecting variants. Like the game just always gives me a reason to keep playing, and I use lots of different decks. Like I don't even give a shit if I win or lose. Sometimes I'm like, I don't care what the hell. I just play to play. Like, it doesn't even matter to me.
Yeah, that's cool.
So because there's the penalty for losing isn't really like sure I might go down in rank, but I'll get back up eventually.
Right.
Like I don't have that problem. I mean, and I enjoy seeing all the Marvel characters. Like they introduced Blob, they introduced Havoc. Havoc sucks ass, but he's in the game now.
You're playing against real people? Like, is there like a timer for them to play like a card or something?
Yeah, you have a timer for turns and everything. I don't know. It doesn't show like an actual time, but it has a thing that moves, and yeah, you have.
Okay, interesting.
Oh, it's a very good game. I mean, I fell in love with it. And I think it's great, and seeing all the characters that you like, and the fact that they keep changing the game. They actually just lost their publisher, and they're still going.
Oh, good for them.
So I didn't kill them.
That's good.
That was nice. All right, well, thank you, Vincent, for joining me.
Of course. So, yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And, I hope we have good games in 2024.
Yes, hopefully it's also a better year for game developers. Oh, fucking
it's a bad year. Good year for games, bad for developers, which is not how you want it.
Mm-hmm. All right, and stay tuned for whatever I'm going to say after this. All right, and thank you, Mike, for tossing it back over to me. You're welcome, Mike. All right. So I want to thank everyone for taking their time out to listen to this episode. When I got this idea for the Game of the Year, I want to do something special. So for the first time, you got to hear our Game of the Year episode, and I hope you enjoyed it. You will see links to all the people that you heard about that had stuff to plug. Will be in the show notes for this episode if you want to go check them out. And please, if you want to follow the show, you can find everything we do on Podbean. We have over 550 episodes. We cover tons of games, movies, comics. So definitely go check out our huge catalog on there. If you want to support the show, we do have Patreon. For as little as $1, you can vote in our Patreon poll, and you'll see a link in the show notes for that. And please join our Discord. You see a link in the show notes for that, too. And want to give a shout out to my awesome intro and outro, courtesy of Helena at Hellhaster. You can follow her on TikTok and Twitch and Instagram, so definitely go check her out. You see link tree notes in the notes of this podcast. And please follow and give a shout out to Bill Tucker, who does A Gamer Looks at 40 and Nomads of Fantasy. And please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Thread, Blue Sky, TikTok, and YouTube audio only. All right, see ya.